Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for your ROH and TNA post show. I got a permanent co-host. We got a wrestling week that is booked for Kate. We got Bad Dude Tito on this episode. We got SB3 doing the CEO dance. I'm loving it.
Sexy.
I'm loving it. You should. You look sexy, damn it. We're all sexy here on Thursday night. So get in those super chats and leave a thumbs up on this video if you would be so kind. Helps people find us in that algorithm, which ROH and TNA, we really benefit from. We really, really appreciate that. We'll also take a moment to remind you to subscribe to Fightful Select, where I geeked out because I saw the news that my boys at M&M are going to be on Collision, the former Maximum Male Models. That was news that was broken over there, as well as so much contract news, Ricochet and Samantha Irvin updates, tons of stuff, and Clash at the Castle also coming up around the corner. So you know there's always more scoops coming out of PLEs and pay-per-views. But enough about Fightful Select. Go subscribe. You know the drill. I'm here with SP3. SP3, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderful, Kate. Second week in as your permanent co-host. You're telling me before we go live that I have tenure and that I'm getting a paycheck, and it's great. It's a great time to be alive. That's why I had to do the CEO dance, because I'm feeling sexy today, and we got some Ring of Honor to talk about, which I did get upset at one part of the show, so fair warning. I may offend some people out there because I was quite upset with one part of the show. But other than that, I got what I was looking for. Last week we talked about the great match with Kyle Fletcher and Dalton Castle, and I literally said, I was like, seems like Kyle Fletcher's the only one that's set up to get a shot at the Ring of Honor World Championship. And then we watch Wednesday, and he wins the Ring of Honor World Champion. Vindication for me.
I mean, certainly feels like we're heading in that direction. Also kind of feels that way because there are no real rightful challengers in ROH right now. But we're going to talk about all that and more. There were also some parts of the show that I did not adore, but we're going to talk.
Oh, we're on the same page. Look at that.
We are on the same page. And it's nothing to do with Harley Cameron. I think she actually looks great. But we're going to get into all of that. Did any news that break that is not Jeff Hardy related? We have a question in the chat about I don't know about on TNA if that's what you're referring to, but it looks like they had a banger of an episode. Certainly feels like he might be headed back to the Hardy compound, but Joel and Cresta will have you covered on all of that. Also, certainly feels like there's been more NXT crossover on the way. There was a very heavy hint from Cody Rhodes about NXT having a battle royal that may involve people from other locker rooms. Genuinely think it would be hysterical if it was just Raw and SmackDown. But Matt Hardy already declaring for it, so doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, but we'll let them talk about TNA World. We're here to talk to you about tonight's episode of Ring of Honor. Good and bad. I do always appreciate with these episodes, like, man, it's so easy to watch 1 hour of wrestling. It's so easy to watch like an hour 15 of wrestling. Like, I'm so used to 2 and 3 hour shows that are a slog that as long as it's concise like this, I'm a happy camper. What did you think kind of overall? I know we had some ups and downs tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This show is so much more digestible at being an hour and change. Like, I look at my clock and we're at the main event and I'm like, oh, it just turned 8 o'clock. Oh, this is great. This is great. Yeah. We're about to finish up. You know, yeah, it's a much more digestible story being told. You know, you got the women's division, what's going on with Velvet and Billie Starkz with the women's TV title. You see contenders kind of taking their places and making challenges for the women's world championship. And then, like we said, we got some development in the main event scene over on Dynamite. So this was kind of like a nice little kind of follow-up. I wish that they would have mentioned that on today's show, like edited in, because you did have such a big thing happen with the TV champion beating the world champion. I wish they would have just edited in just real quick, just have, Tony calls up Ian or Caprice and be like, oh, we need you to do this voiceover because we just had our TV champion beat the world champion and we're going to show it on today's show. That's the only thing that I thought was missing from today's show.
And they would, because Ian Riccaboni would be like, I'm at an Iron Pigs game, but I'll run in the bathroom right now and do it. Okay. That is Ian Riccaboni's style. I'm very excited. Collision is coming to his hometown of Allentown. I will be at that taping, but let's dive into tonight's shows, guys. Get in those super chats if there's anything that you want to cover about ROH in general or tonight's episode, or SP3 has another list that we're going to talk about on our way through the show. But we do start off with our Proving Ground match between Billie Starkz and Sandra Moon, who's returning. I love that they brought someone back who was previously in the tournament. Building off of that is very refreshing to see people who were in the original tournament coming back here. Same complaint that women that are in the locker room should want these shots, but the match was very good. Sandra Moon is very good. Billie Starkz is great. We talked about this last week, but I continue to be surprised at how well she's adapted to this heel character. Stuff like toward the end, right before she locks in that submission, going to the ropes and then hopping down to the chorus of boos, like she was doing it just to get that crowd reaction. She has translated her heel persona to the ring so perfectly. Also love Sandra Moon selling the back in this. It made her a little bit more protected. These Proving Ground matches are at least getting a little bit longer too, or at least able to buy in a little bit more, especially with someone who was formerly in the tournament, SP3. Like, not my favorite that it's not women that are signed to the brand getting these shots, but for what they did give us, I really liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one. These are two ladies that I first saw in like GCW. So it was kind of like a GCW ROH crossover, which happens a lot more often than not on these Ring of Honor shows in the past when you had guys like, Gringo Loco and Jack Cartwheel. So it was cool to see it in the women's division where Billie is more of like the Ring of Honor kind of stalwart, but Sandra Moon is known for the independent scene. And I thought they worked pretty well with each other. Like you said, Sandra Moon did a great job of selling the back, even to the point that Billie wasn't expecting her to sell the back after she got thrown into the corner, and she just goes down and she starts selling it. So Billie had to kind of adjust, and I like how she was able to kind of pivot from what she wanted to do and just started stomping at the back, and just her facial expression just scream heel and scream as much work as she's done with Athena. You could see Athena kind of translating over to her, and I thought Ian and Caprice did a good job of kind of telling that story as well. So love the finish with her going to the top rope, getting the applause like she was going to do something, and then coming down to get all the heat, and then finishing her off with the submission. So we're seeing the further kind of evolution of Billie Starkz. Now that she's a champion, she's showing that cockiness and that kind of swagger of a champion. So it's good to see.
Agreed. She was kind of on a mean streak before. Now we've got a little bit of an arrogance thrown in that, which is kind of what we got from Athena as well. You saw her confidence and cockiness build from that heel turn. But one thing that I always appreciate, and it shows up more later, but worth noting here as well, Ian and Caprice, when speaking to women's wrestling, do it with the exact same respect and treat it completely equal to men's wrestling. And I just really appreciate that. That's not to say other commentators don't, but there's just like an extra something there with them talking. Like there's just an extra authenticity with the two of them. I feel like, I hate to pull out like the as a woman thing, but as a woman, it really does feel like when they do things like mention Athena's name up there with Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson and Samoa Joe. And when they talk about Alex Windsor being one of the best Rev Pro champions of all time, not just women's champions of all time. Like, there's just certain things that they do that make it just feel like it's all the same product. And I really, really appreciate that. I really, really appreciate it. But
it was that one point during this matchup where they also mentioned that Billie is among the youngest Ring of Honor World Champions, along with Mark Briscoe, who won the tag team titles before the age of 19, and Billie won the TV title before the age of 19. So just making that kind of comparison, in your head, they're basically putting Billie on the same level as a young Mark Briscoe. So that's great stuff. And I do agree with you. I can't say it from a woman's perspective. That's why I respect that you're the one saying it here. But as a viewer of Ring of Honor and being a man, I do appreciate that from Ian and Caprice.
Yeah, the comparisons to Mark Briscoe, especially because there is such a rich history to dive into, that the more they do that, the more you do kind of like put people on the level of a lot of who we consider now like wrestling legends in the making. So it is really refreshing. They add so much to the Ring of Honor experience. I talk about it all the time, but it shows up all the time for me. So
yeah, they're among the best commentary team. And to mention, because we're talking about the women's division so much, it really feels like in a smaller fashion, like how NXT kind of really led to the women's revolution on the WWE main roster. It really feels like ROH was the place that started the women's evolution on the AEW main roster, because it was first, Athena being raised as this, dominant champion. And then they made stars like Billie Starkz and Willow Nightingale in the early days when they were in Universal last year. And then Willow comes to the AEW main roster, wins the Owen Cup, and that was in more prominent role, had that great feud with Mercedes Moné, is having another great feud right now with Chris Statlander. It's to the point that, I've been seeing it all over Twitter, and I've been saying it since I was echoing it at the end of 2023. I was like, ever since the end of All Out 2023, the women's division in AEW changed. It was way before Mercedes even got here. They really started focusing. That's when we started seeing the focus on Timeless Toni Storm. That's when we started seeing the focus on Julia Hart. They made those stars. They revitalized Willow Nightingale. You got Thunder Rosa back. You got Serena Deeb back. You signed Deonna Purrazzo. And now, right now, they have some of the best stories on AEW with
100%.
Timeless Toni Storm, Mariah May, and Mina Shirakawa. The best love triangle this side of Matt Hardy,
Amazing.
Edge, and Lita. I really am enjoying the fact that we are seeing overall in the Tony Khan owned promotions, whether it be Ring of Honor or AEW, women has so much of a better spot than it did, say, 2 years ago or at the beginning when he first got Ring of Honor. It's come a long way, and it started really with Ring of Honor really making an importance of the women's division.
It did, and there's been such a, man, if there's anything that we've seen of recent, especially, like, people get injured. Really big stars get injured all the time. Like Kenny Omega, MJF, Adam Cole, like top names. And you have to assume, I never want to borrow trouble in this way, but like if that happens with the women's division, you have all these people that you can call on that have been rocking and rolling here in ROH too. They can easily cross over to the main roster. And I would like to see some stables get built out. I feel like that's the next thing. I've been calling for Serena Deeb's dojo to have students.
I said this when they played the vignettes at the end of last year. I was like, she needs to have Megan Bain as a heater to be her first student. Then she can get younger people like a Leyla Hirsch or Diamante or whoever. I agree with you 100%. The Deeb's dojo stable needs to be a thing.
I think so too. And she's so great, but I think promos are not her strongest forte. And this gives her something to build a ton of story around without having to lean into that too hard. So I'm all about that idea. I think Marina Shafir could come up in that. I think a returning Tay Mello could come up in that. Legit Leyla feels like the most perfect, obvious one. So I think as we start to see things like that hopefully evolve, ROH is going to become invaluable in that regard, because you're just going to have people being able to get pulled up into storylines real fast.
Or we can finally, make the Blackpool Combat Club what Bryan Danielson originally wanted it to be, where they are training the young people, and it doesn't just have to be just Wheeler Yuta as your only student, because that makes no sense. You talked about Lee Moriarty and Daniel Garcia at the beginning of it. If you can't get those guys, because those guys have different roles now, get a Leyla Hirsch, get a Marina Shafir. We know about the Marina Shafir and Jon Moxley relationship in real life, all the work they do over at Wrestling Revolver. Bring it over to AEW and have her a part of the Blackpool Combat Club. Having these women involved in like the male stables, it will help them get more TV time. It will help them get a prominent role. I totally am down for all of this.
I love that. And a really good point, because we are seeing that in the Best Friends picture, right? We're seeing the Orange Cassidy and Willow Nightingale thing. So I like that AEW is making an effort to kind of weave women and men's storyline a little bit more closely. I wish we'd see that more in ROH, to be honest, because the women's division is so strong. Why don't we have like mixed tags with the Infantry and Trish Adora versus like two other people and somebody that Trish Adora can actually feud with instead of jobbing to Harley Cameron, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we move on to Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty versus Jacoby Watts and Nick Comorotto. This made a little bit more sense than previous weeks, but they still have some work to do with it. It was a very fun match overall because Shane Taylor has the same, was raised in the same school as like an Eddie Kingston, I feel like, where I'm like, I just want to watch this guy beat the crap out of everybody. B, believe he wants to beat the crap out of everybody. Face, heel, doesn't matter. And C, I look at that guy and I'm like, yeah, he can beat the crap out of everybody. So I like that Nick Comorotto was in there against someone with some size. Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty create such an interesting combination. But the story with this is you have Jacoby Watts blind tagging to try and get credit for the pin that Comorotto had Moriarty on the mat for. But Moriarty kicked out and Watts tagged back out. So we see Watts finally getting the win in the ring, but he's doing it just to kind of try and get credit for this pin, which is good storytelling there. And then you just get a classic Shane Taylor hard knockout punch, and Comorotto doesn't know where he is. And you got him taking the L once again. See, these are productive losses that are telling a story. We talked last week about that it's not perfect as a story, but these losses mean something, and that's usually all I ask for is like, if the wins are advancing people, great. If the losses are productive also, beautiful. That's all I want. What did you think of what we got here?
I'm now calling Nick Comorotto everyone's favorite 80s wrestler because the look is totally out of the 80s. And yeah, I like the story development with Jacoby Watts trying to get the win and then immediately just tagging out. And you heard the little snicker from the fans in the building when he did that. That was fun. And it seems like it's getting over a little bit here. So I like that development there. I like the fact that we have Shane Taylor Promotions back in Ring of Honor. You know, they have been a good undercard to mid-card stable on Collision over the last couple of weeks and have really kind of made the most of their minutes. But I feel like they have a higher ceiling in Ring of Honor. They could potentially be tag team champions. You can get Shane Taylor to be a contender for the ROH World Championship, something that he always wanted and always set his sights on during his original Ring of Honor run. But he was so dominant in other divisions, say the TV division, six-man division, that he never was able to reach that mountaintop. And him and Mark Briscoe have a ton of history. He had a great rivalry with Jay Briscoe. So I would love to see them make him and heat him up to be a contender for Mark Briscoe later this year. So I like Shane Taylor Promotions being on both Ring of Honor and AEW Collision. And the win here just makes sense.
Win here does make sense. I only ask, where are you a trio and where are you a tag team? Because that's something that they're wildly inconsistent about. But you're throwing around some pretty big names there, SP3. Maybe some future Hall of Famers.
Indeed. So last week, I can't remember the person who pitted it, but they gave a super chat and they suggested one of the lists that I actually was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep the other Nigel list on the back burner. I'm not gonna overexpose Nigel. You know, we're gonna keep him safe, keep him strong, and we are gonna do a different list this week. And I am going to give you guys, because, you know, AEW or ROH or Tony Khan, whoever you want to blame, didn't give us a ROH, a Ring of Honor Hall of Fame class of 2023. We've already passed Super Card of Honor, where they did it in 2022, where they announced the first class of, Ring of Honor Hall of Fame. So I have done the privilege. You can thank me later, Tony. I know you're watching. You always watch our reviews. I am going to give you the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame class of 2024, the prestigious honor that has been voted by the Committee of One, SP3. So I have a list of names here that I have great resumes for all of these guys. So I have someone for the Legacy Award that was given to Carrie Silkin in 2022, but I have 4 names and 1 group that is going to be inducted into this class that I'm going to read out throughout our podcast here. So the first name for the class of 2024 Ring of Honor Hall of Fame is none other than former AEW International Champion, former ROH World Champion, former ROH Television Champion, and former ROH World Tag Team Champion, the master of neck strong, Roderick Strong, is the first name for the class of 2024 Ring of Honor Hall of Fame. Roderick Strong is one of the OGs upon OGs that I discovered in Ring of Honor. Him and Austin Aries had a great tag team title run back in 2006. Of course, he was a part of Generation Next, one of the first premier stables in Ring of Honor history. He's a former Ring of Honor world champion. Like I said, I've read out the whole resume, a Triple Crown champion, House of Truth, everything in between. Great rivalries, great matches with Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, CM Punk. The list goes on and on. Roderick Strong, immediately I was like, hey, that's a perfect name to have in this class of 2024. So that is the first name read out for the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame class of 2024.
Can't argue with that as a pick. Feels like a great one. One thing that I love about Roddy is there's so much talk about like how people evolve and stuff. He found such a balance so early in his career with evolving, but like being just so himself everywhere he's gone. Like, doesn't matter the environment, doesn't matter if it's singles, doesn't matter if it's tag, doesn't matter if he's a champion, doesn't matter if he's a heel or face. There's certain things that are Roddy Strong hallmarks, and he established them so early in his career. And it's very cool to see how many years he has behind him. But like, there are things about very early Roddy Strong matches that feel so true today. And I just think it's so cool how aware he was of his identity so early in his career. I just think it's impressive. It's very, very impressive.
And the fact that all these years later, he's probably in the best shape of his entire career. Because I remember first watching Ring of Honor in like 2004, and he was a chubby kind of guy or a stocky kind of guy, and that's why all those chops just echoed throughout those small buildings that they used to run back in those days 20 years ago. And he's just gotten into the best shape of his career and just been so consistent in delivering great professional wrestling matches.
He really has. He's been. Because AEW got kind of weird there for a little bit at the end of 2023, okay? And then it got back on track with the C2. And kind of in that reestablishment, as soon as he switched from silly to serious, he, I think, has been so integral to the health of AEW kind of rebounding a little bit, which is really, really cool. So good stuff there. But we move on to something that didn't feels so great to me. And I love both Red Velvet and I love Viva Vaughn, but there were just some weird chemistry things in here that I feel like maybe missed a little bit. Some spots that literally missed a little bit. And Red Velvet gets the win over Viva Van, as you would expect, but it just never quite clicked in. I'm a huge fan of both of their work. Viva Van has done some really, really cool stuff in New Japan. There was some stuff that almost felt like Red Velvet returned to habits that she had pre-injury, if that makes sense, where sometimes it just felt like she was maybe overshooting things or whatever, but some good stuff in here still, and the right person winning. The arm breaker submission that turned into the other arm breaker, I thought was like a cool exchange that we got in this. But for me, I was looking forward to it, and it just never quite clicked into the gear that I think I was hoping it would. Very different sizes between these two, very different ring styles. Just read to me as a little bit off kilter, but curious to know what you think. What do you think of this match?
It felt like they were like, hey, we got 4 minutes and we're going to do all the crazy stuff that we want to do in this matchup. And I thought it was going to be good with, Viva Van when she did a little step to the second rope, step up to the top, arm drag off the rope. I was like, okay, this could be really good. And then it was just a couple of moves, like you said, that just felt off, like Red Velvet doing kind of like a diamond dust without going to the second rope. She just did it on as Viva Van had it on her knees. And I don't know what she did, but it wasn't that move. But sometimes that just happens. You have two talented women here in Viva Van and Red Velvet, but sometimes the chemistry is just off, or you don't have enough time. And like I said, they only had 4 minutes to work with. I thought that Red Velvet was getting in her strikes towards the end a lot more stiffer than she was at the beginning, where she was kind of just seemed like it was kind of tentative, it seemed, or just the chemistry was off. But Red Velvet picking up the win and then calling out Billie Starkz, it it progresses that story. So I'm looking forward to it. Like we said last week, that kind of seems tailor-made to be the women's TV title matchup coming up at Death Before Dishonor. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Red Velvet can do next time out, when hopefully she has a little bit more time or a little bit better chemistry with her opponent.
Agreed, and you're right. There was a very short amount of time given to this match, and they probably were trying to, as the kids say, get their shit in, and it just never really fully clicked. But if you're not familiar with Viva, she's been on ROH a couple of times before, but some really outstanding work. Probably one of the top unsigned talent in women's wrestling right now, I would say. I think she'll be snatched up sooner than later, but cool to see her returning. Cool to see Sandra Moon returning too. Like that's good stuff when even with people that might not necessarily be signed, we're seeing familiar names. It just makes it a little bit richer of an experience. And who, I must ask, has made ROH a richer place? So much so that SP3 wants to put them in the 2024 Hall of Fame.
And I'm seeing some great suggestions in the chat, and guys like the Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, they were on my short list. I won't front you, but I'm also looking to get people that can actually show up to my Hall of Fame ceremony. I'm sorry,
it's fair.
I'm trying to. I was also trying to think of that. I'm trying to do. This is trying to give you the most realistic. Like if Tony Khan probably could do a Hall of Fame like ceremony, these are the people that he would call on that can be in the Hall of Fame, that can actually show up to this. There's only one person on my list that probably couldn't show up, so I will read them out next. And they are the Legacy Award winner, and the first ever Legacy Award winner for the Hall of Fame class of 2022 was Carrie Silkin. Carrie Silkin, founder that really brought them out the doldrums when Rob Feinstein did all his BS. But there was someone else there that really helped things. That is a 4-time Booker of the Year for the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and I don't always like mentioning that newsletter, but it is prestigious. Booker of the Year, Gabe Sapolsky. Like Gabe was like the creative force behind Ring of Honor when it really came to prominence. Like when I talked about it earlier today on True Hill Heat YouTube channel, the Triple H Reign of Terror is probably my most horrifying memories of wrestling. That literally almost made me not be a wrestling fan. I had to stop watching WWE for a while. But it was Ring of Honor and the Joe versus Punk series of matches that got me into independent wrestling. And it was Gabe Sapolsky's creative mind that got me into Ring of Honor, whether it was Punk and Raven, whether it was Homicide versus Joe. There was just so many great storylines back in 2004 that got me into independent wrestling, and then so on and so forth, whether it be dream matches like Joe versus Kobashi. He is the mind that was behind a lot of this stuff. Age of the Fall in 2007, that was great. 2006 Ring of Honor is probably my favorite year of Ring of Honor because that's when I fell in love with it. And the Ring of Honor CCW rivalry, Gabe Sapolsky is the creative mind behind that, and that felt like that was the storyline that really got everybody into Ring of Honor back in 2006. And I gotta give love to Gabe Sapolsky, despite some other stuff that I hear about him, but everybody has those type of things. It's a wrestling business, for God's sakes. But
hard to get in and out of the wrestling business without hearing something about everybody. But I'm with you. Very well thought out Legacy Award winner there. I feel like Gabe's probably underrated in the contributions to ROH because I think a lot of people identify Carrie Silkin with it because Cornette, for better or worse, took up a lot of oxygen in the ROH legacy. But actually, I would say for better and worse. I think there's better and worse there with Cornette. As I feel like about a lot of his contributions to wrestling. But Gabe Sapolsky, underrated in the ROH zeitgeist, I think, and a good call. a good call.
And he's got a nice role being a consultant for WWE now. You know, he had Evolve for a while, which was another great independent, promotion that I used to go to all the Evolve shows in Queens back in like 2018, 2019. So I have good memories of that era of Gabe Sapolsky's work as well. And I don't know particularly, he's came up with this storyline in WWE, but he's got a nice paying job in WWE. So I'm happy for him.
And he was with NLW for a minute too, I think.
Yeah.
He's made his imprint on the industry and on ROH for sure. Very well chosen. Well chosen there. Well, we move on to the multi-man matches of the evening. Like, we got so much talent in a very short amount of time, but this ended up being more fun than I thought it was going to be. Top Flight with Darius and Dante in action Andretti, defeating Lance Archer and the Righteous Dark Order, which was Uno, Silver, and Reynolds, and the Infantry, Carlie Bravo and Shawn Dean with Dalton Castle, which was a combo I did not know I needed until they walked down the ramp together. Just the amount of charisma and one entrance was unreal to me, but very, very fun. A lot happened here, and a lot of it was very good. And this felt really well produced considering how much talent was in there, and that I feel like everybody had stories and everybody kind of had some chance to shine. But early on here, we have Dalton Castle, who has not really recovered from the loss to Kyle Fletcher. He's in the opening of this, just on Lance Archer about blocking the camera for his entrance, which is so funny. You got Action Andretti and Top Flights, who just were, I felt like this was one of their more versatile performances as a trio because they were in there with so many guys and so different. Like, the Infantry and Dalton Castle are very different from Lance Archer, and the Righteous are very different from the Dark Order. So they did a good job, I felt like, adapting to everything that was thrown their way. You had the Righteous being kind of bored in this, which I thought was cute. Like, they were just kind of on the outside and then would jump in and triple team people when they wanted to. And then the Dark Order, just absolute workhorses doing what they do best. Really, really, really good stuff. And then the Infantry and Castle were kind of not as involved, except for like the hot suplexes that Dalton Castle came in with, just grabbing everybody that he could. But this was a lot of fun. And you have Andretti and Top Flight winning. This was a 4-corner survival match, I want to say, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so good there. We got to see our 6-man belt holders around at some point. That would be nice, because these things need contendership, and I would like to see anything get built for this pay-per-view that we have coming up on the men's side of things at all. Gonna be Queen Aminata and Athena probably. Gonna be Billie, Starkz, and Red Velvet probably. I got no idea what the hell's going on in the men's division, except maybe it feels now like Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe, but we'll see if they follow through with that.
we shall see. But yeah, I agree with you. I thought this was very well thought out and laid out, with what was it, 12 guys in this matchup, and they're killing me. With last week we got a triple threat trios matchup, and I was like, I've never seen that before, and now I definitely
they're like, more trios.
I've never seen a 4-quarters survival trios matchup. Like, do you have that many guys that you call out to these tapings, Tony, that you have to do a 4-quarters trios matchup? That's insane. Were you
used for Collision? No? Get out there is what it feels like.
Get on out here. Dalton Castle.
Get on out there. We're spilling the box of superstars in the back right now. That's what we're doing.
Hey, we had 3 regular, trios that we know of with Lance Archer and the Righteous, which I feel like they've made a great match together ever since they were like paired up when Jake Roberts, came out with the Righteous last year. I thought that was a nice little pairing. Action Andretti and Top Flight have been one of the better trios in Ring of Honor and AEW, just as far as having really good matches whenever they come out and how they fit so well together. And I like the story that's developing over on Collision as far as, Shane Taylor Promotions kind of targeting those guys and calling out the fact that Shane Taylor thinks that Action Andretti is the only tough one in that group. So I like that. That's been kind of brewing as far as like last week's Collision. And then you got, Dark Order, who picked up the win last week. So I thought maybe they're getting some momentum and they'll be the challengers for the Bang Bang Gang at Death Before Dishonor. But nope, they were actually the team that got pinned. So much for that. I just want them to make us feel like these multi trio matches are building towards something. I don't really need the Bang Bang Gang here because I feel like they're too big to be on Ring of Honor weekly television.
Be an attraction, but a promo would be nice.
Yeah, a promo would be nice because they're going to be at the Collision tapings where you tape ROH anyway. So at least give them a promo where they're like, "Hey, we saw the Dark Order get the win in the triple threat. We saw Top Flight and Action Andretti," and then they make them face each other for like a number one contendership. Maybe you do something like that. I just need them to show up for the pay-per-view, and as long as they do that, I think I'm fine with them. But you got to make us feel like these if you're going to have a four corners survival trios matchup, it should be for something. I'm just saying, at least put them in line or say that they're try out the rankings that you forgot about in AEW. Try it out in Ring of Honor for the trios division.
I miss the rankings in ROH more than I miss them in any other brand because it was so well done before they shut down. And honestly, I feel like Lance Archer and the Righteous are too good of a trio to be tossed in these things. And with the characters that they have, I feel like everything that they do should be very intentional. And I think if you want to make a trio, they should be the ones to win from if it's like they're being if the unified titles are still defended separately, which they have done for some reason. Like, I don't know why you unify titles to have them defended separately, but they did it with the Continental Classic, so I'm assuming it's the same rules there. I really think they could be something special. I think it's such an interesting combination because Lance Archer and Dutch are such different types of big guys that you have two really big guys and a smaller guy who is very weird in playing mind games, but it's not like they're just two guys who are muscle. Like, they do very, very different things in the ring. So
that's true.
I would like to see them get made into something important at some point.
Honestly, I saw Lance Archer in Ring of Honor, and I was like, he's way too big to even be in this trio. He should be in the World Championship division. He should be a challenger for Mark Briscoe. There's certain guys who, may have not, reached the championships, and Lance Archer got close to so many championships. He faced, Hangman Adam Page in a Texas Death Match for the AEW World Championship. He won the IWGP US Championship from John Moxley in a Texas Death Match. He's had shots at the TNT Championship, making it to the finals of the original tournament. I feel like he's come so close so many times to titles in AEW. Why not put him in Ring of Honor where his ceiling might be bigger, where he's one of your bigger stars? Like him, Johnny TV, Shane Taylor, these are guys that should be challenging for Mark Briscoe in the Ring of Honor World Championship division.
I feel like they had to get Lance Archer out of that slot of guy that loses to the champion or is like the title adjacent guy, and then they just didn't do anything beyond that. And he's ridiculous. Like, he's so good. So I would like to see that be the case. But guys, please leave a thumbs up on this video. We are working our way through a couple more matches here before the TNA crew comes on. Feel free to get in those super chats. We got some next ones coming up about this because we all hated what happened. Oh no, that's the next match actually. My bad. I'm just so anxious to talk about what the hell are they doing to Trish Adora. But before that, we get Alex Windsor's ROH debut. She's alongside Marina, Shafir, and Diamante, which is a very fun trio. And they defeat Abadon, Lady Frost, and Leyla Hirsch. And you had Leyla Hirsch, who significantly shorter than Alex Windsor in this, at the top rope, and you get her running into a Shining Wizard, or I don't know if she calls it this, but commentary definitely called it the Shining Windsor, which I liked. And she gets the win for her team. So contending for that New Japan title and showing up here in ROH. Nice to see Alex Windsor in the States, an absolutely outstanding talent out of the UK scene, Rev Pro champion, very cool style, very cool awareness of who she is in the ring. This was a lot of fun, and we're also seeing some good stuff out of Marina Shafir too. Like, she's always, I think at one point Caprice on commentary was like, she's always grabbing something. Like, if you're grappling with her, she's always reaching for something, even when she's trying to escape. She's like grabbing your wrist on the next move or whatever. So some good stuff in here from her as well. Not necessarily a stakes heavy thing. Nice to see Diamante back here, but a good trios match. What did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed this one. I even liked Marina Shafir at one point when they were doing like double teams and slamming each other onto the opponent. She slammed, I think it was Diamante, onto Abadon's legs. I was like, I've never seen that before. Like, are you trying to hurt your partner and the opponent at the same time? So that was interesting. So yeah, I liked Alex Windsor picking up the victory here. She's got a big match with Timeless Toni Storm tomorrow on AEW Rampage, and commentary actually mentioned that. So I was like, once again, why you can mention what happened on Dynamite? So like that was cool. And you know, Windsor is so talented, one of the best like unsigned talents in professional wrestling, man or female. What she did over in the UK scene with her rivalry with Dani Luna over the Rev Pro Women's Championship was great stuff and really got her attention over here in the States. She's got a visa and she's using the most of it, whether it be bookings in Ring of Honor, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Had a great match with Stephanie Vicaire earlier this year, so I'm looking forward to the match with Toni Storm.
As am I. That'll be some good stuff. A lot of great women's wrestling under the AEW umbrella. Like you said, some of my favorite stuff that's going right now is women's wrestling. So hell of a turnaround. Matthew Hook's calling for a stable of Mercedes with Camille, Megan Bayne, and the Renegade Twins. I kind of liked this thought. I would have liked this if it came out of the storyline we just got and Mercedes turned super heel and was like, you tried to come for my career when you broke my ankle. I'm coming for your title. I'm coming for your friends, and like put everybody on blast. I don't know what the deal with Megan Bayne is. I think Shawn had said he's suspicious that there was outside interest now, because I don't know if it was an exclusive deal, but certainly feels like she and Camille, we haven't seen either of. Camille, if they snatched her up, I would imagine it would have been to something exclusive because there was bartering interest. But Megan Bayne is an interesting one because I feel like there have been several opportunities where she could have come in specific roles where I feel like Camille's probably a standalone. The Renegade Twins, it would be nice to see them do something cohesive, but we don't really have a women's tag division, so a stable would be great. But I think they want Mercedes to rock and roll on her own for a little bit, would be my guess. Maybe with a heel turn, because it feels like she's back to working face, or at least tweener for the time, which isn't surprising, because, man, once she actually got in the ring, massively over again, which was very refreshing to see. Very refreshing to see. Do you want to see Mercedes with the stable at some point?
I would love that. I really wanted her to kind of be paired up with someone like a Megan Bayne or a Camille, but giving her a whole stable of female wrestlers would be also cool. And it's not something that she's like adverse to, because, you know, one of her best runs in WWE was alongside Billie as the golden role model. So her working with other people always kind of seems where Mercedes is at her best. So I wouldn't mind that at all.
Well, I wouldn't mind knowing who else is in the SP3 ROH Hall of Fame.
So I'm going to give you two names. And like I said, I appreciate you guys in the chat giving us a whole bunch of names. I think I saw Adam Cole, Eddie Edwards. You guys are more kind of going into like the 2010s, but I don't know if you're understanding the theme that I'm going for here. These are more early kind of pioneers of Ring of Honor. Guys,
so just this year's class, you know.
Yeah, this is this year's class.
We'll do another year's class in a little bit.
Exactly. Well, I'll give you 2025 and 2024. So I will give you 2025 in the future. You guys are giving me a whole bunch of great names to put on the 2025 class, but we're focusing more on the early 2000s era of Ring of Honor. So I'm going to give you I'm going to give you three names. I'm going big before we give you the headliner to close out the show. So three big names coming up. So my group says like I said, I'm basing this off of the class of 2022. If you don't remember, that was Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, the Briscoes, and Kerry Silken. So you got to have a group in there. So I decided to pair up because I'm going to give you a history making inductee, the first ever female inductee into the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame. And it's in a group because the greatest love story in Ring of Honor history was Jimmy Jacobs and Lacey. So they are going into the 2024 class of the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame together because, man, when I first started watching Ring of Honor, that was one of my favorite stories. Lacey. Oh, my God. It's the jam of all jams. It's the love song of all love songs, the hopeless romantic Jimmy Jacobs, his rivalry with BJ Whitmer, with Lacey in the middle of it, Lacey being the manager for them as Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, and then his love becoming into the darkness that became the Age of the Fall, and then the love triangle with Jimmy Jacobs, Lacey, and Austin Aries. There's just so much story between those two that they deserve to go into the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame together. And then two pioneers of Ring of Honor wrestling, the first ever heel, the first person who did not respect the code of honor, our current Adam Pearce, Tony Khan Avatar, EVP, Christopher Daniels, the fallen angel, because Christopher Daniels was the first big heel with the prophecy of Ring of Honor. He should have been a Ring of Honor world champion back in the early 2000s. It shouldn't have taken him like 15 years to then get his first Ring of Honor world championship run, but he is a Ring of Honor former Ring of Honor world champion, former TV champion, former tag team champion, former six-man champion. So many different eras from Daniels with him and Kazarian, SCU. You had the early days with the Prophecy, his tag team with Matt Sydal. The list goes on and on. Rivalry after rivalry, tag team after tag team. Christopher Daniels deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And my guy, my New York brethren, yes, the man that made me go to the Hammerstein Ballroom at Final Battle 2006 because I was so in love with his chase of the Ring of Honor World Championship. And I got to be there and I got to say to Julius Smoke, I got 5 on it when he wins the Ring of Honor World Championship. Homicide is in the class of 2024 because he should have been in that first class. Homicide is one of the OGs upon OGs of Ring of Honor as a heel, as a baby face. So many great rivalries, whether it be against Samoa Joe, Colt Cabana, the list goes on and on. But the Final Battle 2006, my first ever independent show, watching him beat Bryan Danielson and end, in my eyes, the greatest reign of a Ring of Honor world champion of all time, is a memory that will be with me forever. So Homicide is in the Hall of Fame.
You know what's interesting is Nigel McGuinness is not on your list.
I did say I have a headliner.
Oh,
that's not a prediction. It's a spoiler.
Okay. Okay. I'm just saying we've snubbed him. Even when his list was given, it couldn't be about him because you put Danielson at number 1 as his rival. It just
so you see what I'm doing here? You see what I'm doing? I'm giving him a, you know what? Freaking you goaded me into it. Yes, the headliner is one of the greatest Ring of Honor world champions of all time. Nigel McGuinness is my headliner for this Hall of Fame because Nigel does not get enough respect. Anytime we talk about Nigel McGuinness, it seems like in his Ring of Honor reign, we always got to talk about Bryan Danielson. So he's getting the main spot. Bryan can induct him into the Hall of Fame.
There it is.
Yeah, you can show some love and say some respectful things about Nigel while Nigel goes on Collision and shit's all over him. So we are all here for Nigel McGuinness, the headliner of the class of 2024.
Not a single clam will be dug on that day. Okay, it'll just be Bryan Danielson saying nice things about Nigel McGuinness on SP3's Hall of Fame class. But Danielson went in last year, didn't he?
He went in 2022.
Yeah, so there you go. So even now, the rivalry continues because it took SP3's Hall of Fame, not the initial class, to induct Nigel McGuinness, which is deplorable, honestly, in my opinion. But Hey, speaking of absolute garbage, what are they doing with Trish Adora? See, Delgado, Harley's improving, but what are we doing with Trish? Let Trish feud with Diamante until Death Before Dishonor. That would be great. And Meet Norbis saying, sorry I'm late. You never have to apologize. I was conducting meat business. I figure anytime you're not here, that's what you're up to. But how many champs were on the show? And was any ground proven on ROH Dark Elevator? No ground proven.
Dark Elevator.
Dark Elevator's really good. Dark Elevator's really good. We might have to steal that one from you, Meet Norbis. No ground proven, but 2 champions. And we do have some stories, at least, but also very, very multi-person heavy show today. But we get Harley Cameron defeating Trish Adora. Now, I will say I'm pretty impressed by Harley Cameron this early, and I thought tonight was a really great showcase for her because she was very good at controlling the pacing of her match, which, considering she's had like 3 TV matches, like that usually takes people a long time to get, but she was really able to like make it methodical. Commentary called this out too, like slowed stuff down and started picking at certain parts and locked into some sort of like more submission based stuff. And I feel like a lot of times, I hate to say it, but like especially with women's wrestling, with newer talent, there's like this urge to go a million miles an hour. Very impressed that Harley Cameron didn't do that. However, her beating the New Japan globally trained veteran, most badass woman in the world, part of the Infantry, most noted indie talent for multiple years, probably. After being here for a cup of coffee is horseshit. I'm sorry. Like that, there's very few things that genuinely like piss me off. And I feel like I get one of them every ROH, and 90% of the times it's Trish Adora jobbing for no fucking reason. It drives me crazy. But you do have Harley Cameron slowing things down and Trish Adora putting her in a bow tie submission, which looked really, really good. Trish Adora should use that a lot because it looked nasty. And you have Adora fighting back, spamming some hips into Harley Cameron's face, which I loved, but she misses the lariat Tubman, and Harley Cameron capitalizes with a running knee. There are actually 0 problems with the match. There are so many issues with the context of this match. The amount of experience, the skill level, how clean it was. It is inexplicable what they have not done with Trish Adora when you now have 2 titles. Nobody like going toward them outside of the contender. So you're not having other women building wins, except I guess maybe Harley Cameron, who should not be in line for a title shot at any point soon. You have tons of multi-women matches. Like, what the hell are you not doing with Trish Adora? And it's not like she's floating back between Collision and here a bunch like we've seen other people doing. This was extremely frustrating. I was very, very frustrated by this. And I knew it was going to happen too. And that's what pisses me off. It was predictable because of how bad their booking patterns can be. And that was the case here. And I was mad. And so now I'm complaining about it on the internet to you.
Hey, it is fair. I both agree and disagree with you. I think that, yes, Harley Cameron is improving. But boy, oh boy, whenever she was on offense, I was like, she's so green. She's so green.
She is. She's like 4 matches in, right?
I know she's had 4 matches in, but it's just like, there was just so many, like, it was just like, what am I watching? Why is Trish Adora have to sell for this? Why does Trish Adora have to go through this? And she hits a nice little snap suplex, and she did the bridge, which I never really see. Like, Trish Adora always does a move in a matchup that I'm just like, I've never seen that before. I just want more for Trish Adora. I agree with you. I think that she is one of the best female wrestlers that they have that doesn't seem to kind of have a role or be in contendership a lot for these things. Has she had a matchup with like Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship? I don't remember it if it happened. And Athena's had like 1,000 freaking title defenses. So why can't Trisha Dora be a new challenger for her? And like Harley Cameron, I like her. I think that her and Mariah May had a really good matchup on Dynamite. I did not like the matchup with Timeless Toni Storm. It's like every other matchup I like from Harley Cameron.
Which makes sense when she's this green. Like it.
Yeah. When you're just starting out, I understand. Like you're gonna have some good matches if you're in there with someone that's as good as Mariah May. Then if you have someone who's more of a character base like Timeless Toni Storm, I didn't like that matchup. Then she was in the tag team matchup with Saraya and her versus Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May. I liked that match, and then this one I didn't like the matchup. So it's just like it's every other matchup I seem to be liking from her. But as far as like when she's on like taking the offense, I think she does really well to sell everything, and she knows she plays that part very well. When she is on offense, she knows how to play to the crowd and get a reaction. So there are things that's why I said I do agree with the part that she is improving, because she's only had like a handful of matches so far. But it's just like whenever I see, and it's the same thing when I'm watching NXT, when I see someone who is in developmental and just training and just starting out, it's just like I kind of cringe watching them on offense sometimes, because not everything is going to come off well. And that's what I felt like when Harley was on offense in this matchup.
That's fair. What's kind of funny is I feel like the harder parts that develop later with a lot of wrestlers are the things she's good at now. Like it's almost backwards. Like match pacing is tough. Selling is tough. Getting those crowd reactions, having the wherewithal to evoke them is not something I feel like that usually comes along till later. Normally it's I can do this move, I can do that move, I can't string them together. I have no idea how to pace a match because that's impossible when you're first starting out. Like it's so funny that it almost feels to me reversed of what I see. Like when I look at Tiffany Stratton's growth in NXT, you could see her be like, okay, I know how to do moves. Okay, now I know how to string the moves together. Okay, now I know how to sell. Okay, now I get the psychology. And I feel like Harley Cameron's like on the other way. So some of that's probably nerves, to be honest. And part of that is just being new at this. But this is what's hard when you have NXT is a great comparison, because you have a hybrid, like standalone and developmental brand colliding, and you need Harley Cameron to get better, and she's going to do that by working with people that are as great as Trish Dora. Trish Dora losing, not into it. Into it at all. Shame Monster saying Trish still getting that early Willow and AEW go out there and look up at the lights for some weird reason. Tony Khan, explain? Seriously, explain. You know, it's so weird too, because there's so much, this is more for you to speak to than me, but like there are a lot of incredible Black women's wrestlers in AEW, and the treatment of them has been so much better than we've seen historically. Even in AEW's short time, never mind across all of wrestling. Like Athena and Queen Aminata are going to be your title picture. Athena and Willow being the first women's main event. Mercedes and Willow in AEW, right? We're seeing such better treatment of that. But it does still feel like I have this instinct. I don't know if you do, but when you see like a hot white girl who is very new and not good at this beating a veteran Black woman, like that rings alarm bells for me. And they have a track record that has countered that pretty significantly. So it doesn't, I think that's just like in me as a wrestling fan, and maybe hopefully not the truth, but she has been buried for so long that I'm like, what are we doing? Because she gets consistent reps. Lady Frost seems to have moved on to the main roster. Like the people that were coming in at the same time as her seem to have gotten wins that have meant something. I don't know what the deal is, but I feel like she is an absolute star in every capacity.
Yeah, like I have like PTSD or a little voice in the back of my head that just be like, yeah, I have those memories of the big swole tweets and stuff like that when stuff like this happens, even with like on AEW television, like, you know, Swerve becomes the first ever, you know, Black AEW world champion. Did you know that this week's Dynamite was the first time since he became champion that he kicked off the show?
Really? Well, he kicked
Yes.
off a Collision, but not a Dynamite. Okay.
Not the Dynamite. That's the first time in 2
Yeah.
months he kicked off the main AEW show. Like that was mind blowing to me when I heard his music to kick off the show. I was like, wait, this is the first time
Has
since he
this
became
happened
champion
yet?
he's kicking off Dynamite. It is just like, yeah, I want more of this because he felt like the main character of the show. I want more for these Black performers because yes, AEW has made so much strides from that time when Big Swole talked about their diversity. They've made an effort, whether it's the Acclaim, whether it's Swerve Strickland, whether it's Athena and what she's done in Ring of Honor, and you have Red Velvet and Queen Amanada as top contenders going after the championships there. So they've come such a long way that I want to keep that consistency, keep going forward. Don't take any steps back. I want to keep going forward on pushing these, diversity in AEW. So I'm hoping that this is just a blip on the radar, and they realize that Harley Cameron needs reps. She doesn't exactly need wins.
Yeah, and I think ROH is the perfect place for her to get those. It's just tough because they've already incorporated her into an act with Saraya, right? And you're probably looking, I'm guessing you're looking at Saraya and Mercedes at some point.
Yeah,
so
it
she's gonna
feels
come
like
into
that.
play. So I think
And you actually, I wanted to compliment you because that's a great comparison of Harley Cameron to Tiffany Stratton, because Tiffany Stratton got the character down before she got anything wrestling wise, and that's what Harley Cameron has done. She's been a good character since she came in with QTV. She was the one that stood out in all those segments, and now she's with Saraya, and she's actually makes Saraya more palpable to me a little bit when she's on camera with her. So she's got the character worked out. She just needs reps in the ring to get better there.
100% agree. I think she could play like a Carmella-ish role too, where it's like, I don't know if she's gonna have the world's best in-ring career, but not every single person does. But I think Carmella was drastically underrated in what she could do as a character, and I think you're gonna see Harley Cameron kind of, especially with Bunny being gone now, like in a similar role, I think could be really good.
And Kane Horn, the first Dynamite after the pay-per-view he won, he did not kick off the show. They actually did a best friends angle with Chuck and Trent and Orange Cassidy to kick off that episode on Jacksonville. Kate's right. The only show that he's kicked off the actual program was the Collision after the pay-per-view, not Dynamite. That was the first Dynamite this week that he kicked off the show.
And there was something strategic with that because I forget what the lead-in was, but I was like, I understand what they're doing. Yeah.
The NBA playoffs was the lead-in for that Collision, and that's why they wanted to draw that rating.
That made sense. Made sense. Well, we move along to our main event. So last call for Super Chats. We'll have the TNA crew on the back of it, but I loved what we got here. Not only as a Bad Dude Tito stand, but I just thought this match was a whole bunch of fun for a lot of reasons. Yeah, Daddy Magic on commentary, which was great. But you do have Mike Bennett pinning Tito for the victory in this. Commentary, so great again here with the Steiner brothers comparison. I loved talking about how Cabrera and Tito have been together for over a decade. A lot of times you saw in this match Cabrera's size becoming a factor, which I thought was really good. And something that I love about Tito, and I love, honestly, part of my TMDK stanhood, every single person in TMDK, it to me ends up being such an interesting hot tag. And Tito is one that's just a blast. He gets a hot tag and he just goes and beats the hell out of you in the corner a lot of times, like just throwing lariats and arms or whatever. Some fun work on the outside here. A lot of really fun tandem offense from the Wolf Zaddies. Lost my mind with laughter when Caprice had to explain to Daddy Magic what a Zaddie was. I was in stitches, but we saw Tito before against Gringo Loco, I think, and it was a solid match. This felt like there was a little bit more comfort just between, I think, everybody involved, and really, really well-oiled machine with Cabrera and Tito on the other side of this. Again, these Proving Ground matches getting more time, adding a little bit more excitement, having champions around, adding a little bit more excitement. I'm a Wolves Zaddies gal. I'm a TMDK gal. I was happy to see it. Happy to see TMDK on Collision with my M&M boys. This is a week booked for Kate. I will take it. But I really liked what we got, and I liked the chemistry. I think Mike Bennett is underrated and how versatile he is with who he can work with. Like, I think that's a huge strength of his. If you throw a high flyer at him, he's going to make it work. You throw someone like Tito or Cabrera at him, going to make it work. But some really sound tag psychology in this. I thought this was fun. It felt like a main event too, which was nice because sometimes we get those out of order, like Kyle Fletcher and Dalton Castle on third for some reason. But this felt like it was in the spot it belonged in. It was a really exciting match to watch. And the Undisputed Kingdom don't let the ground get proven, but I thought it was a good way to rock and roll.
I absolutely agree with you. Cabrera, when Cabrera and Tito were introduced, I was like, is this bad dude Tito's older brother? Because they look related. I was like, he looks like the same dude. It's like they went in a clone and they cloned bad dude Tito, and we got Cabrera.
Longer hair, yeah.
I've been a fan of Bad Dude Tito since I first saw him in New Japan Strong. I loved him, being added to TMDK and being the only American member. And he's also done some great work over at Major League Wrestling, where he's the current national openweight champion. So he's doing his thing all across New Japan, ROH, AEW, MLW. So love seeing Bad Dude Tito get those reps in. I still want to say, I want Bad Dude Tito to make the trip to Japan and be part of the play-in tournament for the G1, because he said he wanted to be in the G1 2 years ago when he was doing all the tag team matches with Jonah. And I thought this was a really good effort by him and Cabrera. Love the Zaddies explanation. It's
like a cool daddy.
like Zaddy? And he said it with the voice like Zaddy, like a cool daddy.
And then Evan Hart made him repeat it again. Oh my God.
He's like, say that again. Oh man. The only thing I did not like about this match is I thought that Cabrera should have took the loss. Why is Bad Dude Tito taking the loss in this one? Like that part didn't make sense to me. I was like, Cabrera is very, new to here, but Bad Dude Tito is a guy that I've seen in all these different promotions. I thought they would have protected him from taking the actual loss in this one. I know the team was going to lose going against the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, and they don't really have, they're not signed here. They don't really have a spot here consistently. So I thought that it would just make sense to give Cabrera the loss instead of Bad Dude Tito. But that's my only nitpick, who took the loss. So that's much better than the last match. So I'll give them
sure.
I did enjoy this one, and I thought this was probably the best match of the night. And Undisputed Kingdom looking good. I would love to see them, because they're kind of like managers on AEW television. I want to see them more like wrestle on ROH at the very least.
Agreed. They have been more consistent, which is good. And I agree with you about Tito taking loss for no other reason than what I said. TMDK is there on Saturday. We've seen the trio of TMDK at Wrestle Dream. Like, he's a little bit more familiar with his audience. So protecting him and having Cabrera take the loss is probably a good call by you. But
what a week for TMDK fans, for the unified NJPW Tag Team Champions, IWGP, New Japan Strong Tag Team Champions. Sunday, Robbie Eagles and my favorite member of TMDK, Ichiban Sweet Boy, Kosei Fujita, gonna win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. He was my MVP of the Best of Super Juniors. Him and
next year's the year.
Tore it up. Yeah, he's the future guy that's gonna win that tournament and become an IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. But the first stop is him and Robbie winning those tag team titles from those dastardly War Dogs this Sunday.
I agree with you. I might have messaged somebody in TMDK and said I did it when they won. So I took that as a personal victory for myself. But one more super chat before we get Cresta and Joel in here to talk some TNA from Kazaa86 saying, giving me illegal download vibes. I don't know if that's your name, but I used Kazaa as my choice of illegal downloads back in the day. But if you could strip everyone of their respective titles and reset ROH, who are your picks for each title and who are repeatedly featured on ROH? That's a really good question. I I feel like Lee Johnson with the TV title would be really, really good call. If I could do anything, it would be to put the ROH World title on Ricky Starkz and have him actually down there. Just because I want to see Ricky Starkz wrestle. But of who's on the actual program, if you count Shane Taylor as being there consistently, I would say Shane Taylor. And then have Dalton chasing for the TV title probably.
That makes sense.
Tag titles, I'm a big Iron Savages gal, but I'd probably put it on the Infantry because it feels earned. And I'll just keep my women's titles because they make sense. They're there. They have stories.
I agree with you there. If I was to reset the women, I would call Athena up to the AEW main roster, and I would just have Queen Amanada as the TV champion and Billie Starkz as the ROH Women's World Champion. The main title, I would put it on Kyle Fletcher, the World Championship, because he's like a young guy that you could build Ring of Honor behind, and I feel like he can be an ROH World Champion. I don't think he's World Champion material on AEW quite yet, but he can be an ROH World Champion that you could really build behind. TV title, I would bring Brian Keefe over and spread some learning tree love to the Ring of Honor brand. Hey guys, you better respect Chris Jericho with my ROH TV title. And I would strip Yuta of the Pure title and put it on Lee Moriarty.
Josh Woods.
That's fair. That's fair too.
Fun question. I appreciate that, Chad. Thank you so much. We are going to bring on Joel and Cresta to talk some TNA to you. If you've noticed on our YouTube channel, we have switched up how we do the thumbnails, and it is just really made for Cresta and her incredible pictures that she is sending in.
Honestly, every time I have to do my makeup for anything, I'm like, hey,
going all out.
I appreciate it. Please send as many as you can. It makes our
my favorite one is
thumbnail. Yeah, it's the best. It's the best.
Meanwhile, I sent 4, and the person who does our thumbnails only uses the same one.
Well, maybe you should take a hint.
4 is my favorite number.
No, hold on. No, now we're taking shots. Hey, Kate. The name is Kaza, by the way, not Kaza, and it means it's an Arabic name, and it means treasure or gift.
What a beautiful name!
It is a beautiful name.
When I said it as a dumb white American, that's what it made me think of.
Way to go, dumb white American.
Yeah.
America.
Did we not know this about me already?
We very much know this. That's just what happens.
Hey, are you guys ready to?
I will say this before you guys go, and I feel like me and Joel have polarizing opinions. But I do wish you guys could have seen that Matt Hardy compound. I was sports entertained. I was sports confused. I was sports angry. I was sports happy. I went through the 7 stages of sports entertainment. Okay. I was wearing sweatpants and I got dressed up because I wanted to be involved.
Look at that. She wants to fade away and classify herself as obsolete.
That's how I felt.
Obsolete.
Joel wanted to delete.
Joel was like, yo, take me out.
Joel's face right now is incredible. That's the reaction. You don't need to send in any pictures ever again. Your face right now should be on every thumbnail that we have, even on shows that you're not on. That was incredible. Your face was just...
Spoiler alert. You know why this was all dog shit? Because it was all a dream at the end. It was all a friggin' dream.
Oh my
Super Mario Brothers 2 was all just a dream, but it's still a classic. Don't be that guy, pal.
No, don't do that. Listen. The day started with cookout conversations. I don't want it to end with Hardy compound accusations. I don't want this.
Well, apparently they have one at NXT, so...
Yeah, they have a local one. Guys.
Yes,
go to the local cookout, you know?
I almost thought you guys were talking about a local Hardy compound. I'm like, oh, what?
Cresta's like, can I visit?
I mean, wait a minute. As you saw the booby traps tonight on TNA, I saw a woman get beheaded and then said, tee. Like, all right, it's very TNA, but also I don't want to go there. Like, Halloween is so far away.
I had people trying to tell me it was AI, and I was like, no, listen to it live.
Oh man. Well, we're gonna let you. I'm gonna hang up and listen because it sounds like I got some things to listen to about this episode of TNA. But guys, help them out with your super chats. Leave a thumbs up on this video. We thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks, guys. Hi, Cresta. You still don't have earbuds, do you?
Listen. It's been.
It's been.
Always, please. This is a professional cast about professional wrestling. I've had a rough life, okay, since the day I was born. No, I don't have headphones yet. I'm doing swell. How are you, Joel?
No, I'm not going to say I am, but I'm okay. I'm a lot of things, Cresta. I'm looking forward to Against All Odds. It's sold out, and I think that's fantastic. Otherwise, I'm here, and I like this chat. Hello, chat. How are you? Are you surviving?
Are you talking to me or chat? Now I'm sports confused.
Everybody. You're all welcome. I'm trying not to be off my game. When we dive really into it, I'll tell you right now, putting that in the crossover hour, the Hardy compound stuff, really messed me up. It really messed up the rest of my nights.
And you haven't recovered since, apparently.
No, they did this already. We've done this already. We did it. It was all a dream.
I enjoyed this. And maybe because this is my first Hardy compound,
That's your first mistake. It's or whatever, I guess to your benefit. It's your first. This was like my 27th. We've gone back to this well. We've gone back to this well so many times, Cresta Starr. You know what? Let's just, okay. And a 1 and a 2. Hello, friends. We're back again. It's Fightful.com, and it's time for your TNA Impact post show. It's June 13th, 2024. I am Actual Pearl, and the lovely, fantastic Cresta Starr is here with me. Before I tell her, hi, how are you? And say how hi, because I'm not talking at her, I'm talking with her. First of all, yes, we're doing this very hastily in the ways that I've started this for the audio listeners, because we have a lot to talk about tonight. Against All Odds is tomorrow. There's a lot coming from the TNA side of things, the NXT and the WWE partnership side of things. There was a Hardy compound gimmick that went on tonight. My voice is cracking because of the way that I feel about it. Cresta Starr, how are you? And go.
I am doing much better than you are. I was thoroughly sports entertained while you were sports drained this evening. I thought tonight's episode of TNA was 10 out of 10, no notes. I don't care if you disagree. I had a great time. There is so much going into tomorrow. I cannot wait. This was my first Hardy compound shenanigans stunt shows, but as a fine connoisseur of drag, mama, this was camp, and I died. I lived to be reborn in the lake of reincarnation. This was I lived. It was so good. I'm looking forward to the PCO marriage.
That'll perk me up. That's coming. That's good. Listen, this is how this show is going to be very different from other ones Cresta and I have done. Obviously, I have a few more years of pro wrestling viewership under my belt. That doesn't make me better or worse than anyone. It just means I have a little more experience watching 27 other Hardy compound match segment things. What I was going to say before I decided to just start the audio thing was, how do I put this lightly? The first time he did it, there were no kids and barely a wife. And now there's a small village at the Hardy compound. And we'll talk about it. But like I said in the crossover, it was all a dream. And I appreciate the fact that Matt Hardy put the emphasis on getting his kids SAG after credits on this, giving them roles and speakies. That's great.
I
It's
have
hard
a
to work with
question
child
for
actors,
you.
Cresta. It's hard to work with child actors.
I mean, I thought there were laws against that, number one.
Not
Number
when it's the
two,
parents.
I hate
No.
it. I hate it, but you're right. Number two, did you want it to be real life? Again, for our audio listeners, we said this. I said this in the crossover. I saw a woman get beheaded this evening. I think having it be a dream is for the best on a show that a man has gotten shanked, buried alive. Another man has been set on fire, but battery acid put in his mouth, shocked to death on a weekly basis. People get bit. There's a man literally being patient zero. Please.
The problem becomes that at the end of the day, all of this gets settled in a professional wrestling match, which, like, the Hardys, honestly, you go back and watch the first Hardy compound stuff, they did do matches in the ring. They've done the Hardy compound stuff in TNA, in WWE, in AEW. Honestly, if they had their way, they'd probably bring it to MLW at some point just to say they've crossed all the streams. With that in mind, when you have to then have this is all building to a match in the ring between Moose and Matt Hardy. And now with the news that we'll get to shortly about Jeff Hardy and his impending departure from AEW and where that's going to lead. If you're listening to a TNA post show, I think you can probably, bet $5 on FightfulSelect.com or wherever that you might be seeing Jeff Hardy very shortly in the aforementioned post show comments.
I mean, I don't hate it. Not for nothing. I do agree with what Matt and Jeff were saying towards the end of their AEW time, that we're not really being used. Let them go have fun. You know what I mean? Let the brothers delete each other. Let them go have fun.
Of course. I'm okay with that. And we'll talk about that and so much more. But obviously you can tell tonight's show did a number on both of us in different ways. And if you want to do a number on us, how about you go ahead and leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to us here at youtube.com/Fightful. And of course, Fightful Select is the best $5 in the business. We'll talk about that shortly and all of the news and content we drop there. And also, you want to donate a super chat? Go ahead. Any amount, get your question or statement right on the air. Will Chisholm kicks us off saying, I haven't seen Joel this stressed since you lost UIV and Ava Rain as family members. I'm going to gain a whole new family this Monday on Raw and Corpus Christi, baby. Where am I? We'll find out. Or you can go to humperchats.com. Cresta, tell them how, when, why, and how.
You head on over to humperchats.com. You put your comment in like, hey, Cresta, why did you like the Hardy compound match so much? I'll give you my solicited answer at that point. You put your dollar amount in. We keep a little bit more. It keeps the light on. Humperchats.com. Ding.
Moose and Matt Hardy is now a broken rules match. Okay. And they just announced PCO versus Rich Swann. That is official.
Joe, you literally look so stressed. Like, I want to believe this is a work, but like, you're literally just like, and then now this, oh Lord.
I think people know that I do a morning show on Fightful Overbooked on our sister channel. I'm very proud of that show. It's called In the Weeds. If you go and listen to it, it's 10 a.m. till noon Eastern. We talk about wrestling from all over the place. That's because my schedule dictates that I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning every day. That was, and I do the TNA post show, and you all know that I love TNA and that I love doing this show and I love hanging out with y'all. And Cresta is one of my favorite people in the world. I'm not stressed. And I feel bad coming onto these shows and being like, I'm tired. Because it's not that I'm tired. Because then people are just like, well, then why am I here? Because I'm still energetic and I'm still here to talk about it. Joel seems like he's just starting to rapidly.
That's how I feel I feel like you're like, I got this. And then that Hardy compound match happened. And for me, it was the next 10,000 years of cinema.
I think it's just because I've seen it 20,000 times. So I love being here and I love doing this, and no one can ever take that away from me. Well, I mean, Shawn could, but he's not going to. At least I had to do something pretty bad to get that way. But Yeah, we'll talk about the show tonight. We'll talk about all the other stuff. We're going to preview Against All Odds. We'll give our predictions because the show is tomorrow. We are doing a post show. I will be awake as I am here. We will be talking about it. There will be a lot of newsworthy elements coming out of that show. I can tell you now, it's sold out, which is fantastic. Looking forward to covering that show. So we will be live here on Fightful.com, on YouTube.com/Fightful. We'll do it. We'll have fun with it. You ready to talk about TNA Impact for June 13th?
Yes, sir. I honestly had a good time with this episode. All things considered, I know we have very differing opinions, but I had a great time.
That's fair. Let's talk about it because, again, that's the dichotomy of you and I as a fan. We see things differently, and that's okay. Santana opens up, defeats Zachary Wentz. Shout out to Trey Miguel for being the best exaggerated dickhead ringside guy ever. I thought it was hilarious. His selling was great. This all basically breaks down. Wentz hits a front-facing headlock DDT. Macklin stops Trey Miguel from getting involved in the match. That allows Santana to spin the block out of nowhere while Wentz is in midair. The finish looked fantastic. And Santana gets the win. Macklin and Santana stare each other down, but it looks like they're looking on the same page for this upcoming match. What do you think of Santana and Wentz opening the show?
I want to talk about that ending third sequence when he caught that rolling buck 50 into the dive from Santana and then caught that Death Valley driver, which looked like it landed Wentz right on the top of his head. Santana is so fast and he's so powerful. He's one of those people like Keith Lee. You don't expect him to be so fast because of his height and his weight. This match at the end was so good. The pump kick to the knee, showing that Wentz ain't no slouch either. But also, Miguel, I would be afraid. Shout out to, listen, I'm a Steve Macklin apologist now. Listen, here I am being a flip-flop. I don't care. I like that these guys are on the same page. It's going to suck when they turn on each other, but I'm ready for it. This was a really good opener. Really good opener.
Like we talked about before, I don't think that this ends with Santana and Macklin turning on each other. I really do think this is two guys who realized they are so similar as human beings from different backgrounds, but with similar kind of attitudes and similar just professional views, that they're going to always respect each other, but they're always going to want to one-up each other in the ring. So it's jockeying for position, but right now it's the enemy of my enemy is also my friend. So they're going to play that out. I'm hoping that this ends with both men kind of just saying, we did it. It's done. Don't expect me to help you again. And then somewhere down the line, they help each other again. But like, there's just that hidden respect between the two and they just move on from there.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I do hope it's that situation. I do think maybe it might not be a one and done right quite as yet. I think the Rascals are tricks. I think that they're not going to let this go.
That's fair. I'd love to see the Rascals continue to be just shit disturbers. That's fine. They're so good at it. I also am wondering if the TNA crossover with WWE gets more heated up. Does Wesley get involved? And on which show do they show up? And does it make sense to do it? Because heels in TNA, very over babyface in NXT. Can you make that work? How can you make that work? Gallus in NXT are the only team that would make sense, as you got to support your friends. That's the only team that like everyone would just cheer for because everyone would hate Gallus. Whereas like TNA fans, and I mean that because like that's just the Gallus presentation. Nobody's like, yeah, I love Mark Coffey. It's like, no, they're just like, I really hate these guys. I don't like their characters. It's the same thing. Who did we talk about this recently? There's somebody on the show that we're frequently talking about. It was like a perfect heel. It's not
Masha Slamovich.
No, it's somebody else that I'm completely just I'm forgetting right now. Matt Hardy. No, it's not Matt Hardy. Sorry. The idea being though that you've got to find a team that's going to be so dastardly that they outweigh the depth chart on both shows, because that's what you're doing.
Oh, the system, like Moose and Eddie Edwards and Alicia Edwards, all of them. Yes.
Yeah. They're a group that nobody says, man, I really like the system, or I have to respect this. No, nobody says that. Everyone just says these guys suck. Kazarian's another good example in the chat. Like they're a team that are completely hated, universally hated. So you can do that with partnering Wesley back with Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz.
I agree. And I do see in chat as well, there has been a lot of rascal chatter. I don't want to say I'm chronically online, but I am someone who does read a lot of tweets and a lot of wrestling ramblings. And I would personally, as someone who only has that nostalgia from what I see on clips, I would like to see that interaction. But again, how do you make someone who's a complete baby face right now interact with people who are spray painting people in the face? Do you let them get corrupted? Is it a good heel turn for someone? Or is it a good heel turn or face turn for somebody else? It could work in either favor if you think about it hard enough, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, speaking of people that people want to cheer but are doing a great job at getting hated, Mustafa Ali sits down with Tom Hannafin. Everybody hates Tom Hannafin. No, I'm just kidding. Hannafin does such a tremendous job being that babyface interviewer in this setting. Ali does the perfect job of being deflecting politician, POS. He knows exactly who he's pulling from. He knows exactly who he's talking about. It may be someone who was just on a very impulsive show this past week, but either way, Ali is doing the best character work he's done. And I've talked about this multiple times. He's been given those opportunities to do it, knocks it out of the park. And the whole idea here is just deflect. Every time Hannafin mentions something, deflect it, bring up the nonsense. He does this character work so stupidly well. And then Ali just shuts down the interview when Hannafin asks about ducking speedball. And I say to myself, baby, Slammiversary, we're doing it. Montreal, a big match for speedball. What do you think of this whole thing?
This was when I knew TNA was really going to be good tonight. This segment was so good. I don't know how to describe how I'm about to say this, because I mean this with the utmost respect. Ali was being a piece of crap, and I lived for it every second of it. When he was like, I know what you're talking about, like term limits, but I was trying to help it keep it healthy. And while you're focusing on the time that I stabbed that child, you're not focusing on the opportunity I gave their brothers more to eat. I'm like, yo, this is great. This is so good. This is so good. And right when Hannafin was like, yo, but aren't you really ducking speedball? And Champion said, hey, we're done with questions here. I was like, oh, such good shit, pal. I loved this. I really like this. Ali is doing some peak heel work. This is another guy that, unlike the system, and I'm not saying the system can't wrestle, but Ali be doing some stuff. He be doing some stuff and things in that ring. We were like, why you gotta be a jerk? Ugh. It's so good. You want to hate him, but he's so good. And this is good. What a good time to be a TNA fan right now. This is perfection to me. 10 out of 10, no notes, Tokyo Dome, 100,000 people.
Well, I will say that one thing I don't necessarily love is that they are looking past the match this Friday. They are kind of looking past Trent 7. They're looking more at speedball. They're looking more towards, what's potentially going to happen at Slammiversary. And someone in the chat asked, does speedball win in Montreal? There's a part of me that thinks, yes, that's a big moment. But there's another part of me that thinks if I'm in Ali's head, I try to make this go all the way until November. Why November, Cresta Starr?
Unfortunately for us Americans, election month.
And the only problem with that is that there are no other TNA pay-per-views after October on the books. Well, I mean, traditional pay-per-views, the big events. Against All Odds is considered a premium live event. It's a $10 Triller show versus a $30, $40 pay-per-view like Slammiversary. There are no tentpole pay-per-views after Bound for Glory in October. So if you're trying to build to a big Ali drops the title moment after the election and it's a big, politician loses everything, then you get there. But when you could do it in October, you could do it at Bound for Glory. But honestly, doing it with Speedball in Montreal, making that a big moment, that's hard to deny as an opportunity, because they haven't been in Montreal in almost 15 years.
I don't hate either idea. And also, that's a good shout. I do think that is a good call about looking past Trent 7, because I think that putting the idea that he is ducking Speedball is also like putting the idea that, well, we already know you're going to beat Trent Seven, which I think, what if Trent Seven wins? I think the best man will win, and he's got to beat the hell out of each other. But like you said, the Montreal moment is rare, but also the November moment would be like, I don't know. That's a tough call.
John Alba, who hosts the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast, pipes in and says Moose almost came out of the lake of reincarnation as me. John, plug your ears when we get to that segment. I have a lot to say.
I was sports entertained. Joe Pearl was sports disappointed.
We'll talk about it. Some have already heard my thoughts. It's not that I didn't appreciate it. It's just that I've seen some of this before. We'll talk about it soon. The Hex confront Masha after Lish walks off because she's so stressed about going to the Hardy compound. And then Marty Bell gets a win over Masha Slamovich. This is all setting up Knockouts tag team championship match at Against All Odds. They're doing that on the countdown tomorrow night. It's going to be the Hex. That's Allison Kay and Marty Bell. One of the only long-standing, I don't know, they're not even Knockouts tag teams. They're just a tag team, a women's tag team that exists. They're coming in to take on Masha Lisha, or I guess they're known as the Militia.
Sure.
The match with Marty and Masha was fine. The idea here is Allison Kay just got leverage. Masha lost the match via roll-up.
I mean, to be fair, my only note is Masha is really just bullying this girl. Okay. Oh, cheating. Marty Bell roll-up, the most devastating move in the game with Kay help. That was literally the match. There's nothing wrong with that. Respectfully, these women beat each other up. More Masha D being I swear I can speak English. More Masha beating up Marty Bell. But
not tonight. And by the way, yes, I agree with John. Wrestling is absolutely, it's subjective. That's the beauty of the art. When we disagree, we don't hate each other. I mean, maybe we do. Maybe we do.
I actually hate this guy. I hate this guy. And I love Joe Pearl. Joe Pearl's honestly my favorite.
Don't tell the people. They'll get confused. AJ Francis and First Class are on stage with Gia Miller. Before this all started, AJ Francis stole PCO's Black Rose while Steph DeLander and Zaya Brookside are backstage, kind of wondering, what do I do? And of course, AJ Francis has no freaking clue that he took the rose. So lights on, lights off while they're on the stage. PCO attacks First Class because they took the rose. He gets the rose. Security backed them off. And tomorrow night, we discover Steph DeLander's answer to PCO. The build to the wedding begins, Cresta Starr. It's happening. Dun, 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 dun. How do you do that in French? Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 ho.
I will not offend our French viewers.
I will.
You can do that. You're Canadian. I'm a stupid American. They already got a lot going against me.
It's fine by me. I love the idea that Zaya Brookside is invested in this because she just loves love. She just wants to love. She got involved with this whole thing because of the match where PCO showed up from under the ring while Steph DeLander had the match with Zaya Brookside. Now she's just like, I want to be friends with you because love. And it's cute and stupid, but it's perfect. She's going to be the best, the maid of honor at the wedding.
This, honestly, I was so sports entertained by the Hardy compound that all is forgiven. I kind of forgot about this. And now that you've reminded me, it's so fun. It was great. I loved it, in fact.
Because of this, we're going to get PCO versus Rich Swann tomorrow night at Against All Odds. So it's all just coming together.
Rich Swann is going to pass away.
I mean, AJ Francis will be there, so I'm sure there'll be some sort of eventual digital media championship match at a taping, and that'll be that. Someone's saying that Steph and Zaya become a team. Sure, why not? I want to see this all end with one of two things. They do the wedding, they get to Slammiversary, and does anyone have any reason why these two should not be joined together? You either have Mance Warner come out, he's current GCW world champion, and he's like, no, she's my girlfriend, what are we doing here? Or Matt Cardona comes back because that's how we started until Cardona unfortunately got himself injured. So if he's able to come back in time, fantastic. If we can get there, I'm all for it.
I agree with that. I mean, I feel like that's where it's heading. I hope it's Matt Cardona. I don't watch GCW because if you guys watch our show, thank you so much. But I am Big Baby, and GCW is notorious for blood. Shenanigans, yes, but blood also, yes. And I am too soft.
Shenana blood.
Disgusting.
Doesn't hit the same. Danny Luna defeats Tasha Steelz. She starts off, first of all, this match really just finishes off. There's a rope-assisted blue thunder bomb that looks good from Danny Luna, and then Luna overpowers Steelz to hit the Luna landing for the win. It's a big celebration from Spitfire. Onward, upward they go, and Lars Fredrickson backstage says, I got a big challenge for you to bump you up the card. So I guess that's coming up at the tapings because they didn't announce anything for Against All Odds. Anything to add?
I will say that Luna landing at the end, when she readjusted from, I guess it was a Hurricane Rana back to her on her shoulders to Danny Luna, I want you again versus Jordan Grace just because meat, and it was great. Wait, who said it last week? Skirt steak. I love.
Skirt steak. That's very funny. You're right. That was good. Spitfire, man, again, this is a tag team. I'm glad they're not splitting them up, or at least seemingly not. I do like that they're doing a teasing of like, okay, they were fresh, they were new, they got a win, then they lost. Now they're trying to reestablish themselves. So if this is a tag team that's going to stick around like the Hex does, then maybe this is the story you tell. Maybe the Hex win the TNA Knockouts tag titles, and maybe you have Spitfire reestablish themselves, and at Slammiversary, the Hex drop the tag titles to the Spitfire.
I mean, it's also nice. Something that I've been personally complaining about is, well, not complaining, just critiquing, because we don't like to use the word complain, just critiquing about we want more knockouts tag teams. And this is a great way to keep them together and the Hex. I mean, I don't know what Rosemary's doing, being Raven in the rafters, but we've got more girls, you know what I mean, than normal. Masha Lisha, and I feel like I'm missing somebody.
There are plenty. No, I'm just kidding. There aren't that many tag teams. There's like 3-4 at a time.
My point is moot. Never mind.
Someone pointed it out. Someone already pointed it out. They just kind of show up once, and they're either a tag team that exists, or they're a new tag team, and then they win the tag titles, or there's another tag team that exists, and then they split up and they feud. Like this has been kind of the problem with establishing a knockouts tag division or any women's tag division in wrestling, is that often they just kind of don't stick around very long. They exist, they win, then they lose and split up. WWE did that with the women's tag division forever. You could scout it from a mile away. If they weren't a established tag team, then they were split up and put aside.
Absolutely. I will say, when I first started watching wrestling, if we talk about WWE specifically, if you had the Iconics or the Riot Squad, anybody else, who are you? You know, and again, this is not just a critique of TNA. I think this is a critique of a lot of women's division, that your tag teams are, we put you together, we have one established team, a Franken team, an enhancement team, and then we cycle them out. I wish there were established teams. I think there are enough women who aren't doing anything at the moment, but that's just my opinion.
I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more here and there, but for now, getting Spitfire those essential story wins, that's going somewhere. Originally, I was under the impression that they were going to do what a lot of companies do, and that is they won the big one, then they lost, and now they're going to lose. Crisis of Conscience, one turns on the other, that's it. Now it's starting to feel like, could they cast that seed of doubt later on? Absolutely. The loser between the two on the death chart, the loser was Jody Threats. So Jody has means to get upset about that and be jealous down the line if they wanted to go there. But instead, they're going to hopefully play it up as, you two can win. You just need to figure out how to win singularly and then as a team. And I'm hoping that builds them up as a tag team moving forward. And we stop doing the individual matches just to make them feel better. Start pushing them as an actual tag team in a division that unfortunately doesn't have a lot of tag teams.
I mean, I agree. I kind of never understood making your tag team do singles matches if they're supposed to be learning how to work in cohesion. They're already singles wrestlers, especially if they're like quote unquote a Franken team. Why not have them train together? Why not go against other tag teams so they learn how to, if you're gonna cheat, cheat. If you're gonna know, if you're gonna play it straight, when to tag in, knowing your partner, when not to make sure they tap or when to jump in. I don't know. It does, to me, like you said, it doesn't make sense to do it to make somebody else feel good when you as a tag team should be doing tag team stuff.
Folks, get in your super chats, get in your humper chats. We are getting into the meatiest of the meaty part of this show. Joe Hendry's backstage with Gia Miller. This kind of kicks off some very interesting commentary from a lot of people, a lot of different takes on this. Hendry says he wants to level up, learn a thing or two, wants to be taken seriously as a main event player, and he wants to become the best in the world. So he took on the services of Ace Steel, who, of course, you know, CM Punk's best friend. Ace Steel has connections to TNA and to CM Punk and to Chicago as well. And he says he'll help Hendry destroy the glass ceiling that he's currently hiding under. In walks Frankie Kazarian. I love that Kazarian mentions putting on a clinic, and Hendry just shouts back, "Well, that patient died because you lost the match."
He killed him. He was like, that was the clinic. The patient died. I was like, yo, Kazarian, you got to fight that man.
That was it. And then Kazarian's like, well, kings are not taught, they are born. I'm like, that's not a good thing. Why do you think that's a good thing? And then Ace makes Joe Hendry versus Kazarian tomorrow night against all odds. So I saw that some discourse. I saw a few people saying, you know, Ace Steel with Joe Hendry is not something they wanted. I'm on the other side of that. I think Ace Steel, first of all, the connection to Chicago. Second of all, the connection to winning and having champions and having a pedigree. Ace Steel is not known dominantly as the person who was involved in an AEW altercation in 2021. That has kind of moved forward for a lot of people, and some people don't even know about it. They just know he's a guy from Chicago. He's well liked there, and he's connected to CM Punk. He's his best friend. Joe Hendry wants to be better, and this is the guy who'll do it. And putting him in a match with Kazarian is a very good way to kickstart that. What were your thoughts with everything? Because I saw it in your face. I don't know if you agreed.
No, I was, at first, I was like, wow, what the hell? I'm trying not to swear because I'm trying to hold back my answer because I was sports entertained. I remember us talking about how we love Joe Hendry and this viral moment that he's having, making these songs and whatnot. But how do you transition from being I can beat you up, you're Joe Hendry's bitch, you know, to someone being taken seriously? I think what he's doing now, and especially getting someone like Steel, for better or for worse, whether you like him or not, this is a good look because Steel has a name to him. Like Joel said, he has a pedigree behind him and he has a connection to CM Punk. And whether you like that man or not, he puts butts in seats. This is great for Joe Hendry in his own merit. I'm sorry, I'm super congested, y'all. For Joe Hendry in his own merit, who's having a super viral moment with making his music trying to chart, with his music actually charting, I think, like number 2 or number 3 in I don't want to say the wrong thing, and then Joe Hendry quote tweet me and said,
He did very well in the UK. We'll put it at that.
Yeah, he's doing very well all over the world. And I'm like, in his own merit, to me, this is a great way to transition him without making him have to do something so drastic that's so far out, like a blood and guts match, you know what I mean? Or something like that. To me, this is fantastic. And considering you about to get beat up, and this is the perfect guy to do it. Because for someone not in the design, for someone not in the system, we sure hate you too. Remember when you were yelling at Jade and Gia? I remember. Beat him up, Joe Hendry. Beat him up.
There's also something very interesting in that CM Punk, during his time off, his injury time off, has been spending most of his time at the PC and around NXT talent. And right now, TNA and NXT are working together, and Ace Steel is certainly welcome around WWE. He's not contracted to them, but there's a synergy there that comes with it. And Joe Hendry, obviously, a lot of wrestling fans are talking about him in this crossover era. So he's over with the NXT crowd. He's over with the TNA crowd. Whatever you can do to make Joe Hendry work, this is a good first step, in my opinion. I don't think he needed to stand alone. I think having someone represent him, he doesn't need to be a full-time manager, Ace Steel. I just think he needs to make sure that he gets over the importance of Joe Hendry being a serious top-level wrestler.
And I think even, and
He
maybe this
fucking burns people at the last second in a promo. Sorry.
I'm hoping, or maybe this is me looking too much into it, that if you are someone who is going to be like, well, he did all of these things, maybe this is a chance for you to change your opinion about people. It's wrestling. People move on and people are allowed to change. And I've heard of worse things happening for real, for real. This is not the worst. Let people move on. And if this is a good way to make it, you know what, to make it whatever, I'm with it. Because I love Joe Hendry and I want it to succeed. And I want Ace Steel to succeed. So why not? Why not? Let people get their money.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all going to end up with a King of the Mountain match at Slammiversary anyway. I believe in Joe. I want Joe to show up on Tuesday, by the way, in that Battle Royal.
If that happens, when I tell you, I normally don't watch NXT on Tuesdays because my brain can only take so much wrestling 7 days of the week.
Facts.
But I am a Joe Hendry stan. I want this man, him and Jordan Grace and Zelina Vega have a special place in my heart. I don't know these people from a can of paint, but I want them to succeed so bad in life that I would start watching freaking NXT. I would do it. I would do it. I would do it.
I was thinking about this the other day, and one of the it's not a negative, but it's just one of the things that I wish wasn't the case was that NXT Heatwave is before Slammiversary, and the Battle Royal is for a spot at Heatwave challenging for the NXT Championship. I really wanted someone like Joe Hendry to have an NXT Championship match, a standout championship match at Slammiversary. Instead, had Slammiversary come first. Doesn't need to win. He just needs to have a very strong showing against a a top champion. But it's not the way it's looking. However, if he has a good showing in a Battle Royal and maybe gets taken out by nefarious means, I'm pretty sure people will be okay with that. Listen, if the Scottish guy gets taken out by the Scots and Gallus, now we're going.
Listen, I will say that I've only seen clips of what happened at the end of the Jordan Grace Roxanne Perez match. I am angry, and I feel like I respect why they did what they did, but I don't know if my heart can take that a second time. You know what I mean?
We're going to talk about that in a few minutes when we get to the Ash by Elegance squash and the Jordan Grace promo. July is shaping up to be a very fun month. I'm looking forward to being at Money in the Bank, representing Fightful, and of course at Slammiversary in Montreal doing the same thing. Plenty of wrestling coming up. System, Hardy Compound. Here we go. Something was crackling. I think it's the rain. Okay, sorry. Do you want to? You liked this.
I loved this, in fact. I just need to go blow my nose if you give me 1 second because I'm so congested.
All right, here we are. John Alba's here. I feel like, you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to do something I don't always do. No, I'm not going to do it. That'd be stupid. Joel, don't do it. Instead, I'm going to talk to you about why I didn't love this. I said it earlier. I didn't love that this ended up being essentially a fever dream. Okay. I didn't love that this was a lot like other Compound matches, experiences, something. I liked the comedy. I liked that there was the way that it was supposed to look. It looked like a Hardy Compound scene. I liked the way it was shot. I liked the way it looked. And it had a lot of good stuff to it. And I want to bring on someone who's very close to us. And I said we'd have a disagreement. And I hope you don't mind, Cresta Starr. He's going to join us by audio. But the one and only John Alba is with us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
In my brain, I'm always introducing good morning.
Good morning. Hello, friends. Not trying to hijack your show. I mean, you sent me this link for the record.
I did. because I wanted this conversation to happen with someone who is
Well,
also connected to Matt
sure.
and has these conversations. And I know you
Sure.
talked about it on the podcast as well. And you were also promoting it as something to watch. And listen, like I said, it was shot very well. It was very fun. Tell you now, it wasn't for me.
Well, what I think what I said was, if you love the Hardy, Broken Hardy universe stuff, if you love the compound stuff, you're gonna love it. And I think that's kind of the nature of how this stuff goes with him at this juncture. And I think Matt's approach is much more aimed at someone like Miss Star over here, who, Matt loves the quote unquote the casual fan who's, not necessarily super in the weeds of, I see what I did there, of some other of the more intense elements of it. And it is the definition of sports entertainment for sure. I mean, I'll tell you this, Joel, when I saw it, he said to me, he's like, "You totally hated it, didn't you?" And I was just like, no, I didn't hate it, because I knew exactly going in what it was going to be, and I kind of expected it to be exactly what we saw.
I want to know, Cresta, I'm curious, because you mentioned earlier in the crossover that you haven't watched any other Broken Universe stuff before. This was the first time you've seen it.
Interesting.
And so that's why I'm really interested in
Yeah.
your take on this. So go ahead. Let me have it. Let's hear it.
At first, I was sports confused. Then I was sports entertained. And then, I said this in the crossover, as a fine connoisseur of drag, this was camp. Oh my God, this was so funny. This made no sense and didn't have to. It didn't have to. Why was Eddie Edwards a wolf? Because he was the lone wolf. Open up your third eye. Why did Alicia Edwards get beheaded? Because she's annoying and she's from Boston. Who cares? I'm from New York. Who cares? She got beheaded. Again, this was a fever dream. Great. Another murder on TNA. This was funny. Ryan Myers getting beat up by all of his demons.
That shit was fun. That was
It
good.
was so funny.
Corny as hell, but it was fun.
At some point, it's one of those things where it's like, bro, not everything has to make sense. And I choose to be sports entertained. And I was very thoroughly sports. It was funny. And then again, like Super Mario Brothers 2, it was a dream. So wait, you're mad that Alicia didn't get beheaded?
Listen,
It was great. I loved it.
See, it's funny you say it didn't make sense. I think everything in it actually made sense. It's just it was, it was corny for everyone, and that's totally fine. I think this stuff in small doses is good. I don't think it's something that you want to inundate your television show with. But it's funny, Cresta, because if this is the first one you're seeing, like, Joel, you'll probably agree with me. I'd say this is like, of all the cinematic stuff with the Hardys, this is probably like a C tier compared to some of the the final deletion is legitimately like game-changing stuff. Tag Team Apocalypto is one of the most entertaining things you're ever going to see. The Great War was fantastic stuff. Like, that was all definitely significantly above this. But, I'm biased because I've gotten to know the family so well, and like seeing the kids have their moments, and like Gothic Baby, you'll hear it on this week's podcast, but Gothic Baby now, whenever someone like arrives at the door to drop something off, she like force pushes them like she did in that so like she got it over with herself. She popped herself with it. And like, hey, Maxwell did like a sweet looking leg drop from the ladder on that. So you can't take this stuff super seriously. And I thought it was cute.
It's funny because like as someone who has a kid, I really do appreciate that Matt wanted to get all the kids involved, and he wanted to make, because they're part of this whole House Hardy stuff. It's fun. At the same time, as someone who hates child actors, like, I'm watching this and I'm just like, I can't do like a child doing a poltergeist thing. I can't do it, So for me, it was like, man, I appreciate and I respect Matt for doing this and making a moment that him and his family are going to look back on and like really love and cherish together. And then like the other part of me was just like, yeah, but why did the kids have to like?
Well, I think it's because Maxwell was such an integral part of all the early stuff.
Yes.
Like Cresta, the thing is, like, if you go back and watch the stuff, Maxwell was 1 year old when all that stuff was happening, and he, as a baby, was like a character within this broken universe. I mean, he pinned Disco Inferno, which was a win for everyone. And you know, like it was a legit thing. And I think that's why he sees the you know, the kids integrated into this. And you know, say what you want, Gothic Baby is like a legit draw. Like she does signings and shit. Like I mean, it's like pretty
I
incredible.
follow
So,
Gothic Baby on TikTok. I
yeah.
follow Revy on TikTok. Listen, Revy's makeup always looks great, so I'm always looking.
Yeah. So
I sat there and I was like, the way they played off Lish and Revy was that so many people spent so many hours saying, "Oh, those two, they're going to tear each other apart when they see each other," and just the way they did it in this interaction was well done.
Who's to say that's the last of it you'll see, you know?
And considering it was all a dream, it's probably not the first or the last time.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, I just because I'm associated with Matt doesn't mean like I'm like, oh my god, all this is amazing. Look, it was a cute little TV segment. It was harmless for what it was. I told him his missed opportunity was when Moose came out of the lake as number 69. I was like, broken Matt not screaming, nice, like in his broken Matt. I said that was a big missed opportunity there. But you know, I mean, the crazy thing is they film all that stuff in one night, you know, and like they shoot till 5 a.m, and then I heard Moose didn't even get a chance to like shower after going into the lake. He had to like get to the airport ASAP. So like, you know, props to all them for doing that. And you know, it's a small production crew. It's not like this is a big production crew doing something like this. So you know, that's a 13-minute mini movie they did. And you know, I mean, kudos to all involved. It's not going to be for everyone, Joel, but if one person like Cresta over here is sports entertained, then I
was heavily sports entertained. I want to now go back and watch it, maybe in chronological. Maybe watch the boppers first, then go back in chronological order.
Yeah,
I know what I'm expecting now. I know what I'm getting into. A lot of people I've heard it saying that it's bad. Don't even waste your time. But now that I know what I'm getting into, and if you guys said this is a C tier,
no, like legitimately, and Joel, I think you'd agree with this. Like, I mean, the final deletion changed wrestling, and like the pandemic, like the Undertaker doesn't have his last match without the final deletion. I mean, it's crazy in that sense, and you know, you see more and more Easter eggs. Like, I actually thought the coolest thing about this segment was for the first time ever, we went into their childhood home. Which was their legit childhood home in that, which was Gilbert Hardy's, you know, their dad. That was his house that is on the compound. And I thought that was just a cool little Easter egg, you know, that's the compound is a character in all this stuff. And I think that's all very interesting. But yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on it. And I suspect that they're going to have a pretty interesting next week or so, the Hardys.
We're going to talk about that in just a second, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time, John. Go ahead, plug your stuff, and let people know where they can find everything.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing me in. You can check out the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy dropping at 6 a.m. We talk all about this match, or this segment, I should say, and address some of the rumor and innuendo. We taped it a couple days ago. I had a chance to see the segment beforehand, and yeah, I mean, it's great stuff. And you know, the one thing I will always say, Matt is a very transparent person, and I think he recognizes that this stuff is not going to be for everyone, but I'm proud of him for the shape that he's in. He's in excellent shape right now, and I think him and Moose are going to have a match that I think will surprise people. I think it will be much better than what people are going to put out there on the internet, you know, and it'll be fun. So, yeah, good stuff, guys. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you, John.
See ya.
Take care. John.
Thank you. Oh, quick. He's fast.
He is fast. He just knows to just cut it off before anyone. Okay, now let's bury the shit out of. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But seriously, thank you to John Alba for joining us. He does host The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Go check that out if you want to know more about what's been going on, not only House Hardy, but also with Matt's TNA return. And of course, may as well get to it now. For the best $5 in the business, Fightful Select reported Jeff Hardy is going to be a free agent as of Friday. PW Insider did report, and Fightful Select was able to confirm that TNA is in talks with Jeff Hardy. One could assume that you're going to see the aforementioned Hardy at tomorrow night's Chicago Against All Odds event. If that happens, Cresta Starr, your thoughts on a Hardy Boys reunion in TNA?
I feel, and this is me being a Hardy Boys apologist, these guys have done so much for wrestling. Let these boys frolic together as many times as they want together. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Motor City Machine Guns are not there right now. And I feel like we need an elder team role that can still go and do the matches. So I will accept this. Let them frolic together. If Edge and Christian want to get together, let them frolic together. That's how I feel about it.
My general feeling is if Jeff is healthy and Jeff is good, and you know what, I think most people know what that means, then yeah, go for it.
That's fair as well. I think Matt being there helps too.
Yeah, I again, your sibling can only do so much for you when it comes to a lot of things. That being said, I'd be excited to see the Hardy Boys do this one last time, do their last run. If Jeff's good and Jeff is healthy and Jeff is good to go, and whatever that means for Jeff Hardy, great. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Hardys challenge for the tag titles against the System at Slammiversary instead, which is like,
I wouldn't hate it, but I would laugh.
We're splitting off, like we're getting the Nemeth this month, and then you get the Hardys next month, and it's just a really like, what happened? The tag division needs a little bit more. The Nemeths are new, and we're going to talk about that in the main event and what that kind of did to ABC and the other tag teams that are in the division. But you bring in the Hardys, they have, they can do the Expedition of Gold gimmick or whatever. I don't necessarily want the Hardys to revisit everything and rehash everything, but like, go out, do TNA thing, maybe win the tag titles, maybe not. Again, the System is just so dominant and not taking away from the product for me. I'm not sitting here being like, oh God, I'm so sick of the System. No, I like the way the promos are shot for the System. I like the way that they're presented. I like the way they wrestle for the most part. Like they work. Okay. So for me, having the Hardys join into the tag division, it's fine. It's a good addition to a babyface side of the tag teams that are needed.
I agree. And again, we talked about this week after week, and even in this show already, the System works in the sense that nobody likes them. They're not bad wrestlers, but they are doing their job. You are heels. You are lucky this was a dream. Like, people genuinely dislike you. Like, if you think about it, that was real. How much time and effort Matt Hardy had to have been Justin Brian Myers alone to do that and set that up just to mess with you, and how angry to continuously set that up. Nobody likes you guys. That's crazy. He turned one of you guys into a wolf. That's crazy.
An American wolf, no less. There was again, it was camp, it was silly, it was fine. You know what? I'll say it like this, and I don't think anyone from TNA who might be listening is going to be upset by me saying this. I put out that tweet going into the 20th anniversary TNA Impact show last week about inviting streamers to watch and react to the first Hardy's deletion show that they did in Impact at the time, and how that was a big thing and it was a polarizing moment. But the idea being that we're going to take all these content creators who don't necessarily watch Impact, and we're going to get their reaction to this completely out of the box camp, whatever you want to call it, production that we're doing with the Hardys. And the reactions were like everything Cresta said tonight, honestly. And it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, this is you reacted exactly the way people did when they first saw any Hardy compound video. So for me, knowing last week that they invited streamers who don't necessarily watch TNA to start watching TNA and stream it on their platforms, and they were invited to do it, that's how I knew, like, they're going to do a Hardy thing and they're going to do a compound thing because these people don't know, and they're going to get the reactions, and the reactions are going to get shown. And it's like, that's business. That is part of the wrestling business in 2024 in the streaming world. And like Impact used to be on Twitch. You can simulcast on Twitch. This is just their start of trying to get new fans in a new creative way by using an old technique that worked for them 7 years ago.
Well, it worked on me, pal.
That's fine.
I am the target audience, or as some people would call, a mark.
That's fine, because you know what? I talked about this on another show, the AJ Styles fake out retirement. There were people who thought that was real. or that it was going to be real. They thought that he was going to retire and that was going to be a thing. Not everyone watches wrestling, starting in 1999. Not everyone started in 2009. Not everyone started in 2019. Like, there is different times for wrestling. So everyone joins when they join, and they jump on and off in some cases. Not everyone has been watching as much as I watch, which, for better or worse,
That's fair.
that's how I've consumed. I'm a completionist. So really the answer to this is wrestling has to finally end so that I can continue with my life.
Never, Simba. All right.
Ash by Elegance defeats Jada Stone. I love that they gave Jada Stone a little bit of like promo time when George, the personal assistant to Ash by Elegance, came out, then said, "Get out of the ring." And then Ash, she shows up. They talk about her at Battleground. Commentary argues about why she was there. And then you have Rosemary watching on from the stands. With everything going on ahead of Against All Odds tomorrow night, Jordynne Grace did have a promo afterwards saying, anyone from any company, it's an open challenge, go ahead and do it. Ash wins with rarefied air. Rosemary has a shiv. That's worth remembering. The Tatum Paxley stuff, it's really starting to feel like Tatum Paxley is going to be the challenger, and that Tatum and Rosemary might start working together. And I could see Jordynne Grace and Ash by Elegance having to form a Macklin and Santana-esque team. Not the same, but different, in that they're forced to team together for the sake of overcoming the evil, weird, dark forces of Tatum Paxley and Rosemary. Go ahead.
I'm closing my eyes because I want that reality to not. I don't know what what Ash by Elegance is. I don't know what the character's point of view is. And every time I think I begin to get it, I personally agree with commentary with what Tom Hannafin said. You going over to NXT, however you feel about her, how you feel about her, but you messing up what could have been a historic moment is a little egregious. Like, I agree with that. Like, sis, what are you doing? I don't want to see her tag with Jordynne Grace. I don't care. I feel like there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. Maybe it's me. It's me, Jesus. Maybe it's me. I don't know anything about Tatum Paxley to give you my 2 cents. I don't watch NXT. I need a day not to watch wrestling because it's wrestling literally 7 days a week. I love you all. Please respect me. So I don't know. I don't know how this shakes out. I did find it curious that she mentioned a lot of companies, but not AEW.
I mean, it's not going to be AEW.
I know, but still, I mean, like, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be CMLL either. She did say that, but I don't think it's going to be that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Will Chisholm adds in, it's funny how Jordynne Grace said everyone but AEW.
Okay, that wasn't crazy. Okay, all right.
Whatever. Everyone knows that the expectation is it's someone from NXT. If it's Tatum Paxley, listen, there are going to be people who are like, oh, who's this? Or, TNA is losing in this partnership. And here's the reality of it. Slammiversary is months away. I'm starting to think that it's Jordynne versus either Rosemary or Ash by Elegance, or they do a 3-way, whatever it is. But do we get there by having some sort of Tatum Paxley, Rosemary unholy alliance, and then Jordynne Grace and Ash have to do some sort of partner match in one of the tapings, and that sets up Ash by Elegance and Jordynne Grace? Like, there is a way to make it work, but it should be Becky Lynch. It should be Becky Lynch challenging. That's where it should be.
I mean, I'll be real with you. TNA right now is in a good position. I feel like in their WWE TNA thing, they've got someone like Joe Hendry and Jordynne Grace at the helm. Two people who look great, talk great, whatever. Again, I don't know anything about this young girl, Tatum Paxley. I wish her the best. I'm sorry if I saw her in the street. My apologies. So we'll see how it works out. Like I said, I wanted to see, oh my God, what's that girl's name? Laya Valkyria. But
okay.
I feel like she just challenged for something, and I don't watch NXT, but I seen that girl wrestle one time. I was like, oh, that girl, that's me.
So Lyra, just for anyone who doesn't know, Lyra.
Lyra
Yeah, Lyra Valkyria was the NXT Women's Champion, defeated Becky Lynch, and is now on Raw. She was recently in the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. She lost to Nia Jax, but has been, doing really well on Monday Night Raw. I would love to see Lyra. I don't think it's going to be Lyra, but when she was NXT champion, Lyra Valkyria's best friend was Tatum Paxley. Tatum was a little creepy girl who was, getting in the way, and then Tatum turned on Lyra, and they just did a blow off while Lyra went back up to main roster after she dropped the NXT Women's Championship to Roxanne Perez, right? I think so. Anyway, the point being here, Tatum Paxley and Lyra are actually connected, and you're not too far off.
It's also giving Mickey James vibes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They were not doing single white female. They were kind of doing, that was the name of the storyline. It was called single white female. They were doing more like a friends getting creepy, like wanting gold. It was I don't know how to explain it. It
Killer
wasn't
Kelly?
No. Killer Kelly was kinky. That was different.
Okay, no, you're right. Okay, but I don't know. I don't have the other one for reference, so I guess you're right. I won't take your word for it.
Will Chisholm saying, I would feel some type of way if I'm TNA. I mean, they send Io Sky to Marigold in July. I don't want people to think that this partnership is going to be a 1-to-1. And also, we don't know how entrenched TNA is going to be with NXT. I continue to remind people we have seen one crossover talent, and that's Jordan Grace. And I understand that there is a high potential that on Tuesday we will be seeing TNA talent in NXT. However, given the way that Cody said it, other locker rooms could include Raw or SmackDown, and we could all just be reading way too far into this. For the NXT, they're doing a battle royal for the NXT championship match at the next NXT PLE. But also, I'm just leaving it alone until I see who comes out tomorrow, and that'll kind of set the tone for me when it comes to this TNA NXT stuff. Anything to add?
My internet is dying. I am so sorry. The whole time you were talking, it sounded like Mr. Roboto, and I'm praying that I'm not disconnecting and lagging right now. That's why you see my head in my hands.
No, you've been fine. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you now, but everything you said, I heard every other word. I am so sorry. I am the worst co-host, NA.
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Let's get to the main event. Ryan and Nick Nemeth defeat Ace of Base. This is not surprising. I don't love that Ace of Base have to eat the pin. And they have to eat the pin because the Nemeths are a new team that are getting a tag title shot. But I understand that the importance of getting the Nemeths over include beating a former tag team champion. That being said, Ryan Nemeth does a front knick-knack, which I think we'll call the Rick-knack, and then Nick does the regular knick-knack for the win. Nemeth's win going into tomorrow night. Cresta Starr, your thoughts?
I'll never recover from the front rig. I'll never recover.
It's the Rick-knack. It can't be the Rick-rack because he's not Ryan Nemeth.
Oh my God. Joel Pearl, you're a menace to wrestling society, and I don't know who let you have a microphone. Okay. All right. So just like now, my internet was dying during this match. So my notes are super minimal. I will say I did not like Ace of Base losing to the Nemeth Bros. I understand it. I understood why it happened. They worked over Chris Bay OD in the beginning, and then at the end, Nick Nemeth was getting really worked over, which I get to show his resilience or a caveat in case he loses to Moose tomorrow, because he was really getting beat in that last third. But in the same vein of sprucing up your tag divisions, to me, it does not make sense to have ABC lose here. I would have rather another team. It furthers two storylines, so you kill two birds with one stone, so I totally get it. But it's just, I understand, but I don't like it.
That's fair, and I fully get that. Again, the Nemeths are challenging for the tag titles tomorrow. Ace of Base are going to have a match against Eric Young and Josh Alexander. It's a very unexpected tag team match that they threw together for the show to get people on the card. But yeah, ABC are just kind of here, and former champions that decided to be cannon fodder for Nemeths. That's what it is. It is what it is.
I mean, I want to say this as a joke, but even I feel bad saying this, so never mind.
Okay, then. Are you sure? Final answer?
Well, I guess Motor City machine guns are gone, so somebody's got to do it so it wouldn't hurt too bad.
We don't know where the Motor City machine guns are anymore. Jonathan's a super chat saying, I miss Mickie James a lot. That 6th championship reign would come so easily right now with the state of the division. Induct her into the TNA Hall of Fame while we're at it. I mean, Bound for Glory is the time when they normally do the inductions. I would love to see Mickie get in. I don't know if I necessarily want to see Mickie jump in and win another championship right away. I liked the last rodeo. You and I got to cover it from top to bottom. I think that may have been just the perfect way for her to finish up in TNA. But we'll see. Oh, no, didn't she drop the title because she was injured?
I was going to say, correct me if I'm wrong. The last rodeo ended
It's Rebellion.
because she got injured.
That's right.
So I wouldn't be upset, not so much if it was a title reign, but hear me out, and I'm putting on my jabroni hat.
Do it.
I would not be upset at an eventual Giselle Shaw knockout champion win, followed by Mickie James coming to pick up what she never lost.
That's fair, because you can't have Deonna back. And Deonna, of course, was the one who won. Yeah, they did the Rebellion match.
And I think there'll be enough time between now and then, even to give Giselle 2 or 3 opponents before Mickie comes back. I don't know if Mickie took time off because she was injured or whatever have you, but I feel like that gives Giselle enough time to rebrand this character. If she wants to do something with Gail, cool, and that thing following up with Gail could be Mickie, and that's a very dominant 1-2 punch if you're going to push her as the face of your division. I'm not saying that right now because Jordynne Grace is doing some fantastic stuff.
Yeah, she is. I'm not ready to end the Jordynne Grace reign, but I don't know what comes next for her once she does, finish it up. We'll see. We'll see.
We shall see.
Against All Odds is tomorrow night. We will be live doing a post show here on youtube.com/Fightful. You want to give predictions real quick on this?
Let's do a Spitfire. Hey.
Oh, they're not on the card, but here the Knockouts tag titles are on the line. Masha Lisha take on the Hex. New champs or no?
I don't want to say that it's too soon for not the design. Jesus Christ, Cresta Starr, please. That same guys, different face. I don't think it is too soon for them to drop the tag titles. However, I do think that it's going to be a poor night for the system. I think we get new champs, and kudos to you, mama.
All right, then the Hex are going to win.
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know if I made that clear. My apologies. Yes, the Hex are going to win. I think we're getting new champs. Yes, sorry.
I'm fine with the Hex winning. Like I said, bring them into Slammiversary, do the Spitfire match, or do a Knockouts Tag Team Championship Ultimate X match and make it real messy.
We could do that too, a Smosh Fest. Yep.
All about it. Jonathan Gresham, speaking of Smosh Fest, Sami Callihan, Jonathan Gresham, Inc. versus Immune System.
All I can think of is that meme, disgusted. It must have been one of us. Disgusted. When he said, yo, Inc. versus Immune System, but then, and maybe again, this is me reading too much into it. In the background, you see it flashing, him coughing up in the mirror. Him say something like, you sound like you dying too, bro. And the white mask isn't gone unnoticed by me. This man's playing with portals. I don't know. I'm only give it to Gresham. I think I like this push. I like it getting creepy and weird. And yes, his immune system is strong, but I got this skull, man. And you can't. I don't know. I want to give it to Gresham. I think it's
Gresham. I think we're going to keep building him, and he might be Speedball's first big challenger if Speedball wins the X Division Championship.
I could see that.
PCO takes on Richard Swan with AJ Francis. First class. PCO wins.
Why the hell Richard Swan? Well, now why he in this? Why is one Mr. Swan, and now why is he in this?
Because AJ Francis ain't gonna be in it. let Rich Homie take care of it.
PCO wins this. I see a schmoz trying to happen. Maybe a schmoz could happen, but I see AJ getting spooky Laduca. Why Rich Homie Swan in this?
I think PCO gets the win just so they can do the step to lander. I'm going to date you. Let's get married scenario. Joe Hendry with Ace Steel takes on Frankie Kazarian. I'm looking forward to this match. They're really heating up Joe Hendry, man. What do you think between those two?
I love it. I love it. If for some reason, some way, somehow, Joe Hendry takes it off Moose, who beats a bunch of people who we're really into, I'm here for it. Kazarian's about to get a well-justified beating. I did not forget you yelling at Jade and Gia, especially yelling at Jade to call you the king. Kings don't yell. You're a jerk, okay? So, Joe Hendry, I can't wait for this buff man, no singing songs, but I'm still going to beat you up. I live. Joe Hendry. Sorry, Joe Hendry.
The ABC match is not on the card anymore. Oh, there it is. It's back. That's so weird. Josh Alexander and Eric Young versus the ABC.
That's such an odd match.
Isn't it? Especially because ABC just lost.
Is this the match we break up the ABC?
I don't hate it. I mean, Alexander and Young aren't exactly doing anything else at the moment. They could continue teaming up for a little while.
I'm thinking that too. And it's like, technically, you would be losing to two Franken teams or two teams that don't team regularly. You got the brothers who never teamed before, but whatever, they're brothers. And Alexander and Young, they were on Team Canada a million years ago. Am I mistaken with that?
Josh wasn't, but EY was.
Okay, so again, we're losing again essentially to another Franken team. I've had it. Bay took the pin here, but then you pinned me. I could see it. But again, I don't think we need to be getting rid of tag teams. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't be against them telling the story of we can't beat makeshift tag teams who are superstars that just kind of come together. So maybe it's time for us to go away. And
yeah.
Get back together later on. And then you can let Josh and Eric Young kind of join the tag team division as baby faces to go after the system again. Let ABC go do other stuff.
That'd be cute.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it to Alexander and Young and let this be the fraction in ABC.
I hate it, but that's a good idea. I hate it, but I hate it, but I understand. Yeah.
Rascals take on Mike Santana and Steve Macklin. This match has the potential to be the match of the night. It can steal the show. I am leaning towards Santana and Macklin. Let the Rascals, look good in defeat, but also look like little bitches in the best way possible. But Macklin and Santana get the win, shake hands, go their separate way, or just shake hand and then, punch each other in the mouth or something.
I too vote for Santana and Macklin. The little demon on my shoulder says the Rascals cheat to win. We love a good cheater. And because they cheat to win, Santana and Macklin are now double pissed because now I'm in a situation that I don't want to be in. We both said one and done, and you sprayed me in the face, and now I punch Macklin, and now I'm pissed, and now I want to do a cage match for no hope. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be upset with that, but I'm also, I would like Macklin and Santana to win this one.
I think that's the way to go. Have Santana and Macklin move up by moving on and getting the win. And then we're done with the Rascals with the Macklin story. Move on to the next. Speaking of moving on to the next, Mustafa Ali and Trent Seven for the X Division Championship. Ali's going to get a huge hometown pop. Campaign Singh and Mike Bailey are banned from ringside in this match. I feel like Ali's going to get the win.
In Ali, we trust. This match is going to be a slobber knocker. If that tag match has the potential to be the match of the night, so does this one. This match is going to cook. Now, we may be overlooking Trent Seven, but Trent Seven is going to slap the chest meat off of Ali, and I can't wait.
Now, with those two men banned from ringside, Secret Service, you notice, is not.
I thought that wording was very peculiar.
As did I, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. The System take on Ryan and Nick Nemeth for the TNA tag titles.
I could see it. I could see a hot shot decision here. I could see it. Nobody likes the system. And the system, to their credit, to their merit, they're doing their job. No one is supposed to like this system. You've done a great job of making people like, yo, give us those titles. Give us those titles. Give us those titles. And maybe the Hardy compound was the mind F that they needed to drop all the titles tonight. Or all the ones that they're defending, rather.
Yeah, I think the system are going to win.
Okay, work, Diva. I don't think that. I think it's the Nemes brothers.
That's fair. I think the system are going to retain, and we're still working on them as the tag champions. They're building some baby faces. They're building more baby faces than they are heel tag teams. Put it like that.
Maybe I'm a hater. Maybe it's because I don't like the system.
Can't
Maybe I
believe
don't trust the system.
You're supposed to love and respect them, but hate them for the performance that they. Yeah. Anyway, Jordynne Grace TNA Knockouts World Championship Open Challenge. We talked about it earlier. We don't know who it is. Feels like Jordynne Grace would get the win, and then we start moving towards the next chapter.
I agree. I unfortunately don't know who it's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be a banger of a match, but whoever it is going to lose. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to that young lady.
I think given the amount of matches that are already on the card and the stories that are being told, this is one that's just going to be a beat in a storyline. I don't expect it to be a fantastic, amazing 10 out of 10 match. I just expect a good story. That's kind of where I'm keeping it, because if this is part of the TNA NXT story and their partnership, if it's Tatum Paxley, great. That'll start the Rosemary and the Ash by Elegance stuff. There's something in the pot that's cooking over there.
Fair. I'll accept it.
And finally, a broken rules match for the TNA World Championship. Matt Hardy versus Moose. Jeff Hardy comes back at the end of the night after Moose has already retained his championship. And then they do the delete together. Yes. Brother Nero, I knew you'd come. And everyone's excited because Jeff Hardy's back.
I agree with that outcome. I was going to say, unfortunately, Moose comes back, and in true Jeff Hardy fashion, $1 too late while he does his dance up the ramp. Yeah, nope. Yeah, I think Moose retains here. I think it's going to be a fun match. If this, it's an in-ring match. Never mind what I was going to say. I'm excited for it. Put it like that.
Jeff joins the system and says, "That's for not letting me be in the latest Hardy compound video."
That's crazy. Throw him in the lake of reincarnation. He's wilding. Send him back. He doesn't. Send him back. Send him back.
Exactly. Listen, it'll be a good night. Looking forward to Against All Odds tomorrow. Again, we're going to be live here on youtube.com/Fightful, and of course on all the audio platforms where you leave your 5-star reviews if you haven't already. This show went very long today because we had plenty to talk about. Thanks again to John Alba for joining us, talking about the Hardy compound stuff. Cresta Starr, what you got going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, like Blackpink, I'm going to be all in your area on Fightful. Tomorrow, if I wake up crossing all of my fingers and toes, I will try to be on Grab City at 12. They're doing it special early because of Clash at the Castle. On Saturday, you will catch me and Riccacino on Collision. It's our 1-year anniversary. Can you believe you've been doing Collision for a year? That's
CM Punk believe it?
Madness. Listen, they've killed lesser cockroaches in more time or something, or whatever the quote goes. Anyway, you can find me over on the platform formerly known as Twitter, X. I don't know what it's called now. At Cresta the Star, like Megan Thee Stallion. There's a link tree in my bio. Follow me there. Twitter, TikTok, everywhere but Facebook, because I don't have that. I'm out of words. Joel Pearl, where can they find you?
I'm easy to find. I'm at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl. You catch me in the weeds Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays over on our sister channel, Fightful Overbooked. Go ahead and drop a thumbs up on the video. And of course, subscribe to our youtube.com/Fightful channel. Cresta and I are back tomorrow night for Against All Odds. And until then, I will see you all in the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, that's the words that I use. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.